Good morning, everyone. I am Marco Ferraro from the Agency for the Promotion of European Research in Italy. I'm the coordinator of the Mercury project that today is organizing this very important workshop, strengthening ERC participation from policy to practice through ERC support mechanisms. Just a few words, first of all, to welcome you all. It is a pleasure to see many participants from all over Europe and beyond that will join our discussion today. On behalf of the Mercury project, I would like to thank, first of all the speakers, the panelists, and participants for being with us today. I will not say much about the workshop and the agenda because in a few seconds, my colleague Asli will introduce you to the agenda and to the objectives of the workshop. So just a few words to say that today it's a very important event because it brings together national and institutional stakeholders that play a key role in creating the conditions that enable researchers to succeed to better participate in European Research Council funding schemes. I hope that the discussion will be open, practical, and inspiring, and will contribute to a stronger and better support mechanisms and greater, of course, participation in ERC opportunities across all over Europe and beyond. Thank you again for joining us, and I wish you a very productive and engaging workshop. And of course, I leave the floor to my colleague Asli Vural. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Marco, for this wonderful opening session, opening speeches. On behalf of the Mercury Project Consortium, I also would like to warmly welcome you to today's workshop. My name is Asli Vural. I am leading the work package of the strategic capacity development of widening countries within the Mercury project. So today's event has been organized as a part of the activities under this work package, which aims to strengthen national capacities and support mechanisms for researchers engaging with the European Research Council. So this workshop represents the first step of a Europe-wide mapping exercise that we are conducting within the framework of the Mercury project. The study focuses on the support programs and mechanisms developed by the national funding organizations and host institutions to assist researchers throughout their ERC journey, from proposal preparation to project implementation and beyond. I also would like to mention that we are running a survey about these national and institutional activities, mechanisms, and the survey is still open. If your organization has not yet had the opportunity to participate, we would greatly appreciate if you could complete the survey using the link that we will be sharing at the end of today's event. So the ultimate objective of this work today is to develop a comprehensive overview of existing practices across Europe and to identify successful approaches that can help strengthen ERC support ecosystems. The findings will be presented at the final ERC Mercury workshop at the end of the project and will also be published in a dedicated report. In addition to mapping exercises, we aim to develop actionable recommendations for national authorities, funding organizations, host institutions, and other stakeholders seeking to advance their support for ERC applicants and grantees. Today's program brings together many distinguished experts from a range of countries, both from widening and non-widening, as well as representatives of different organizations involved in supporting the ERC applicants. They will share their experiences, approaches, and lessons learned in designing and implementing support mechanisms for researchers pursuing ERC funding. We will hear perspectives from both national funding organizations and institutional support structures, followed by a panel discussion that will provide an opportunity to exchange views identify common challenges, and discuss good practices. So for those following the event via YouTube, please know that you can submit your questions to every speaker or to the panel as a whole through Slido. And I think my colleagues will help me seeing the Slido code. The code is Mercury, our project's name. So you can ask questions through here. We encourage you to actively participate in the discussion and share your views. Thank you once again for joining us today. I wish you an engaging and productive workshop, and I look forward for the discussion ahead. Thank you very much. So now I leave the floor to my colleague, Laura, she's the Romanian ERC National Contact Point, and she is the organizer of this event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Asli, and good morning to everyone. My name is Laura Chirilă, and I am ERC NCP within NCP unit at UEFICDI Romania. It is a great pleasure for me to moderate the first session of today's workshop entitled ERC Participation in Widening Countries, Policy Perspectives and Key Challenges. Before moving to concrete examples of national and institutional ERC support mechanisms, we will look at key challenges and opportunities related to ERC participation in widening countries. In this spirit, we are very honored to open this session with a short video message from Professor Maria Leptin, President of European Research Council. After the video, we will have the privilege of listening to two distinguished members of the ERC Scientific Council, Professor Leszek Kaczmarek and Professor Andras Stipitz, who will share their reflections on the challenges, barriers, and opportunities for widening countries in ERC participation. With a great pleasure, I invite you now to watch the short video message from Professor Maria Leptin.
Dear all, I'm sorry I cannot connect live to your workshop, but Leszek Kaczmarek and Andras Stipitz from the ERC Council will be connecting live, and they will be able to have a proper discussion with you. I envy them a little bit. Leszek and Andras, together with the ERC Scientific Council Working Group on Widening Participation, have put together the paper that you're discussing today. As ERC President, I've visited almost all the countries represented here today, and that's how I've witnessed firsthand the efforts made by countries and institutions to support their best scientific talent and help them compete for ERC grants. Institutional support is really essential to enable researchers to succeed. Some of the impressive examples for how national initiatives have helped to raise the success rates in ERC competitions are in the annex of the white paper. The measures target applicants, but also grantees and even host institutions. For example, UEFICDI in Romania, which co-organizes this workshop today, gives out prizes to institutions to reward the kind of support that leads to successful ERC proposals. So what else can the ERC do? For countries that are currently less successful in ERC calls, we do several practical things. We work with the national contact points, like today. We support mentoring. We enable potential applicants to spend time with ERC-funded teams through the Visiting Research Fellows Program. And we work with the ambassadors for the ERC. We can use all of these channels to communicate better what makes a proposal competitive and what panels are actually looking for. But there are also some things the ERC cannot do. We cannot substitute for a strong national research system. We can't compensate for underinvestment or make a university internationally competitive if the national rules prevent it from hiring, rewarding, and retaining excellent people. We can't create stable research careers where a national system make the careers precarious. We can't build labs, doctoral schools, or research cultures from Brussels alone. Research systems are built through steady choices. They need predictable funding, autonomy for universities and research institutions, open international recruitment. They need proper support for young researchers, and they also need patience. A country cannot decide in 1 year to be excellent and expect the results in the next ERC call. This is slow work. And that's what I would like you to keep in mind when discussing best practices today. Most EU member states invest below the 3% target for R&D, with the EU average at 2.24%. Only 6 countries meet or exceed the 3% benchmark: Sweden, Belgium, Austria, Finland, Germany, and Denmark. At the same time, if the government of a country invests in education and research, they do create the research environment that is attractive for the people they want to recruit. Talented researchers with the right research environment will be able to compete more successfully in the ERC calls. So, we as scientists and research policymakers must, all of us together, request the funds for research both at the national and also at the EU level. Those are complementary and we need them both. So I wish you a successful event.
We thank Professor Maria Leptin for this important opening message and for setting the tone for today's discussion. We will now continue the session with the contributions of 2 distinguished members of the ERC Scientific Council. After their presentations, we will have a short Q&A session. Please submit your questions via Slido at slido.com using the code #Mercury. You can ask either general questions or questions addressed to a specific ERC Scientific Council member, in which case please indicate the speaker's name. It is my great pleasure to first invite Professor Leszek Kaczmarek, ERC Scientific Council member and chair of the Working Group on Widening Participation, to share his perspective on ERC participation in widening countries. Professor Kaczmarek, we are honored to have you with us today.
Am I helped? Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure. Is it okay? Everything working?
Yes.
Okay,
okay.
Looks like. That's good. Thank you very much. So if you can put my presentation on, that would be perfect. Thank you. So indeed, I am here. I'm from widening country. I'm from Poland. But here I am, I guess, mostly because of the ERC Scientific Council, and together with my friend Andras, we will share some insight from the ERC point of view. So what I want to do, I want to present a document that has been published on the 25th of March on the ERC webpage. May I have the next one? Okay. And actually, there are 2 documents that describe our approach to the problem. We see this as a problem, as I will mention repeatedly, that there is a gap in ERC participation, and we try to understand what are the reasons, and also a bit look forward, way forward. And this has been presented in the first document. It's called white paper. It's a position paper. And then there is kind of an evolving document, and you are very much asked to contribute to this. We want to present all the measures. We just showed the examples, measures taken by the widening countries to improve success in ERC calls. So please, I understand that you will be also sharing your own experience in this, and we'll greatly appreciate to help us and the other colleagues to see what really works. Thank you. Next one, please. So, may I have the next one, please? Okay. So there are 2 pillars of we stand. One, that we recognize, we as an ERC, we recognize a problem, and we cannot afford a research landscape divided into two tiers. If these gaps persist, they will weaken Europe's overall scientific strengths. That's absolutely very important. We recognize the problem, we see the problem, and we have to work to overcome the problem. Nonetheless, the other pillar is that excellence is the rule of the ERC. Selecting the project. So we have to not to sacrifice excellence. So what we have to work on, we have to work on increasing excellence in those so-called widening countries. So you have to the right-hand side, you see in blue non-widening countries, and then in orange widening strictly European members countries, and in yellow some selected associated countries like Turkey, that are in the same category, and this is the success rate. And you see no clear distinction on this diagram. The success rate is better, 2-3-fold better in non-widening countries. This, but 2-3-fold maybe is not so bad, but if I may have the next one, please. Then if you look at the numbers of funded proposals, this is really dramatic. On overall, we have founded just a bit more than 600 proposals from widening countries out of almost 14,000 altogether. That's very low percentage, which is around like 5% or so. And we have to recognize that just in the widening country, is 25% of the EU population. And then if we add the other associated countries, such as Turkey, Serbia, Ukraine, etc., this number is even far bigger as the population is concerned. May I have the next one? And then also, there's recently made map by our colleagues from the executive agency of ERC. And this is so-called, there are so-called clusters of excellence. So there are institutions in which there is at least 15 funded proposals, 15 grants, in broadly defined areas that are described in colors to the right. So we can see that in the regions of widening countries, the situation is very, very poor. We see two clusters, which is one is Champalimaud in Lisbon, which is neuroscience, and one is humanities at the University of Warsaw. And that's all. But see how many are on the Western and Northern Europe. So that's a major problem. May I have next one, please? And then the question is, what are the reasons? We identify a number of various reasons. We list them. Obviously, the academic environments are less prepared, less favorable to support, especially young group leaders, to support them in the form of real independence, to give them freedom, but to give them administrative and technical support. In overall, this kind of support to prepare the projects is not also at a very high level in our countries. The way the research is evaluated is far from perfect. But then there are other issues, but one of those that this is illustrated in the diagram to the right is just the funding. You see, this is the number of the grants is just directly proportional to the funding on research and development, on research and science funding. As you see that the blue dots are to the right and top. Even more, the next one, please. If you look at this diagram, which shows how much there is a spending per individual researchers in thousands of euro versus how many grants are given per 1,000 of public researchers. You see to the very right, you see the Switzerland, the best spending. Then you see this island of blue dots and some rich associated countries, actually. And then the widening countries, except for the Cyprus, but all the others, they make this kind of an island in the left-hand and low corner, showing that just there is no much money. So one of the main messages is also, yes, we have to work on the increasing research spending, because this helps to nurture, to select and to nurture the excellence. May I have the next one? Though it's not so bad, that situation is improving. Again, coming back to the success rate, which kind of hides that there are much less applications. But still, you can see, I underlined in red countries that are really improving from FP7 framework program to Horizon 2020 to Horizon Europe. So you see that situation may be improving. And we were also struck when we saw at the Council of the ERC, when we saw those results for the consolidator grant competition to 2024, and you see that Czechia had the best success rate, over 25%, from all the countries, all the non-widening and also these rich associated countries as well, and decent number of 10 grants. So this is a very good example we follow. I'm sure that Andras will tell more about this, because it's been picked up also by Hungary, and also recently we are picking up this in Poland to follow the example, the good practices developed in Czechia. May I have the next one? So what can be done? No, first of all, yes, we need to reform academic systems, open competition for position, freedom, proper evaluation of research achievement, not just counting, publication, etc. We have to increase, our countries have to increase investment in frontier research, in research in general, but frontiers in particular. And then also, that it's possible to transfer some funds from structural ones into the Horizon Europe. And this is recently what Poland did, and transfer 30 million euro to support some very well evaluated, but just below the funding threshold line, projects in EIC and ERC. Also, we see that we have to do something on our side, on the ERC side. So we will work on have more panelists from the widening countries. We'll be searching for those panelists. There's a database being created that will include these panelists. We believe that it's important to strengthen ERC mentoring and fellowship schemes, because we see the example, especially like people were fellows in the laboratories of the grantees of ERC, they are much more successful in getting their own grants. We intensify policy dialogue with widening countries, and this is, some of you know that Maria Leptin was just a week ago in Romania, also talking with highly placed officials. And again, share success stories and good practices within the region. I am experimental scientist, so I'm focused on this, what works. May I have the next one? So then there is this document on good practices, and I guess on good practices, Andras will tell more. And I'm inviting you to contribute to this document, just sharing your experience with us. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you again, Professor Kaczmarek, for this very insightful presentation. We will be very grateful if you could stay with us for a short Q&A discussion at the end of the session.
Sure.
Thank you very much. And now I have the pleasure to invite Professor Andras Stipic, ERC Scientific Council member, to take forward this discussion and to share his reflection on ERC participation in widening countries. Professor Stipic, thank you for being with us today. I am pleased to invite you to share your reflection with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And it's a pleasure to talk about something which is very close to my heart. So I will just echo a few ideas and remarks of Maria and Leszek from earlier on. You see the map of Europe and highlighted the widening countries and also the associated countries. And it's a fact that this region underperforms when we compare it to the population or the number of researchers or the number of submissions from these countries. And my personal view is that we underperform in the success rate in ERC when we compare it to our scientific potential. as Leszek's diagram showed, this underperformance is not so expressed when we compare it to the to the financial means devoted to science in these countries. I will not talk about that. This is a much higher level discussion. I would like to talk about what can we do as a scientific community. So again, we have few successful proposals. An even bigger problem is that we have few proposals from widening countries. And another problem is that the quality of proposals are not that great. So the two target aim is to increase the number of proposals and to improve their quality. So the three main action steps I would like to talk about today is to how to find eligible, potentially good candidates, how to convince them to actually do the application, write the proposals, and then how to help them to improve the proposals. And this is the main focus of my today's little discussion. It's very important to see that an application starts way before the call of the grant. We have to sort of prepare our future candidates to submit an ERC proposal later on. So, for example, it's good to build this expectation into the hiring procedure. So this should be a component of the point of views when we hire new researchers. We have to explain to the junior participants that it's important to build up an appropriate funding ID, to build up a CV by accepting all kinds of extracurricular activities like working with students, being part in journal editing, and so on and so forth. We also have to discuss a little bit sometimes the research interest and adjust it. It should be only an advice, but sometimes research directions are too focused, which is not in which way they don't address overall problems, or they are too wide and they don't give concrete results. We have to discuss that. We have to encourage people to apply for smaller projects and proposals, so they gain some practice, and also to explain how rewarding it is to write a proposal. I will get back to that later. Okay, so this is how we prepare, and then we have to convince the potential candidates to actually do the work. It's a huge contribution. It's a huge work. It's a commitment. And my usual go-to arguments are that it's very useful, and it's a service for the research institute they are at. Also, grants are of different type of financial means. They provide some stability even when politics or science support is not so stable in a given country. We try to acknowledge the work invested in proposal writing. We even do financial compensation for that. And the third, which usually works, is if the scientific landscape in the country is friendly enough, they might have some follow-up grant schemes like we do in Hungary. And so we can sort of recycle the unsuccessful proposals after a little bit of an adjustment. If it doesn't work with ERC, we can submit it somewhere else. So it's not a waste of work, it's just a huge investment. But the more important thing is how to improve the quality of proposals, now specifically for ERC proposals. Well, it's a complicated scheme, how the proposals are evaluated. It's a two-step procedure. So the candidates should be absolutely clear about how the evaluation scheme will work. They also need professional help. For example, the budget is a complicated matter. It's a much bigger scale grant than what we usually do on the national level. They need help in that from experts. And then with the concrete proposals, they need help by other experts reading it and criticizing and developing it. And finally, as I mentioned, it's a two-step process. In the second step, there is an interview, and this is really where candidates from the widening countries need help. We need to shape their interview and also help them to develop some kind of a self-confidence. This is an overall problem, in my view, in widening countries, that they don't have the sufficient amount of self-confidence to explain their actually sometimes very excellent and good proposals. So let me sort of focus on the first main problem I see, that how can we explain the scheme and how can we explain the expectation of the panels towards the proposals if there are only a few panel members in the country. So it's very important to convince people to participate in the panel work. And it's also very important to help the council to choose panel members from widening countries. This is a non-trivial issue, and our suggestion was that national contact points or other devoted researchers in widening countries, say in Romania, should try to collect a database which then can be submitted to the scientific council, who are actually nominating the panel members, which contains names, email addresses, maybe web addresses, and also expertise, described expertise of individual researchers, which then come up as potential panel members. This is like a homework. Everybody has to do it at home in their own country. And then in the council, Leszek and me can collect them from widening countries and promote among our colleagues. So we hire the participation from this region in the panel structure of ERC. So what are the concrete actions? I should echo again Leszek mentioning that the Czech model turned out to be very successful. It was initiated by Zdeněk Strakos, a colleague of mine, and he built up an extremely successful scheme, which we shamelessly plagiarize, and we try to do the same in Hungary, and I hope it will be also spread throughout these widening countries, and we hope to see a better result. You always need somebody who takes the lead, and I would be very happy to talk about this initiative from Romania or from wherever. I should mention that I learned everything from Strakos, and it was a pleasure to talk to him. He is so enthusiastic, and he has very clear vision how to improve the quality of the proposals in Czechia. So the root of the problems are that the proposals are typically not sufficiently focused. So this is the first target, the first meeting we have. We have 5 meetings a year, and this is the second meeting. I will talk about the first in a minute. In the second meeting, we try to focus the proposals and to explain how an ERC proposal differs from an average national proposal, where they expect steady but possibly incremental advances, while the ERC proposal is really on sufficient and interesting and courageous step forward in the particular science we choose. So we try to help the potential applicants to focus their ideas. And then comes the second meeting, where we try to imitate a panel, and so to explain how the evaluation works in the ERC scheme by giving them older proposals they have to evaluate, and then we give the panel evaluations, and they will sort of practice themselves to see what potentially the panel is looking for in a particular proposal. And then they start working on their own proposal, and then from the mentors in the third meeting, we try to form a small panel, and we go through the proposal with this eye, and the applicant learns what the other people see in his or her proposal, and then we will have ample time to actually improve that. I didn't talk about the first meeting. Usually, this is an advertisement throughout a bigger scale event. Like in Hungary, there is this festivities of science, and we try to address this to the wider public, that there is such an initiative as the ERC mentoring program, and this is where we recruit our future applicants. And finally, the fifth meeting is when people get to the step 2 stage of the application. Then we do mock interviews and help them to prepare for their own interviews. So I would like to emphasize again, the role of former panel members is crucial. The mentors who are participating in this event, in this organization, are mainly former panel members or are actual panel members, but not involved in the particular year in the panel work, because there is this conflict of interest we have to pay very close attention to, and we should avoid any kind of trace of the conflict of interest. So we need more and more panel members. This echoes my previous few sentences about how to arrange that. And the other very useful source for mentors is former ERC grant winners who do know how the scheme works, and they went through the process, and they can talk about their own experience. So we have to blend these two expertise, personal expertise and also the expertise from the panel members. And let me just very quickly summarize what my important points were. So we have to prepare the future candidates early on, and they have to be aware of the aspects of their vita which is needed for being successful in this race, which is a race after all. We have to approach them and explain them how important it is, not only for themselves, but for the institute they are working on, to apply and to be successful in this ERC scheme. And we have to reward that. And once we recruited the proposal writers, we also have to recruit proposal readers who help them, mentors who help them to improve their proposals. And that's a long process, which ends with potentially mock interviews. And if the proposal at a given call does not work out, it's unsuccessful, then we have to encourage them to recycle on other on other grant calls, and to gain more practice. And let me just finish by a little bit of a bragging. In my institute, we have roughly 60 tenured professors. And this picture was taken when we got the 11th ERC grant, and we dressed up in the jersey of the Hungarian national soccer team, because 11 is the number every Hungarian knows. This is the number of players in one moment on the field. We didn't have a goalie jersey because we think that we are attacking mathematical problems and you don't need a goalie for that. And I was also asked what happens if we have more. Luckily, we have now more successful ERC grants. And well, the decision is that we will look for another sport. My son is playing ice hockey, where a team consists of 20 skaters and 2 goalies. So this is our next goal, to have an entire hockey team out of successful ERC grantees. And so with this, I thank you for your attention, and this is the conclusion of my little presentation.
Thank you, Professor Stipic, for this valuable contribution and for including the context of your country for this matter. Now, I would like to invite both Professor Kaczmarek and Professor Stipic to join us for a short Q&A session. We have here in Slido general questions and specific questions. I will take the first one. From your experience, what are the most effective ways to encourage researchers from widening countries to become ERC panel members? Sorry, I don't see the questions.
Shall I take it? So becoming a panel member, well, it is a lot of work. It's definitely a lot of work. We have more and more submissions in the ERC panels. So one has to evaluate something like 30, 35 proposals, which is a commitment. And my usual go-to argument is that we do need the experience. If we don't have sufficient experience in the panel work, we will not have sufficiently many successful applicants. This is why they have to go to Brussels, understand how this scheme works, come back home, and tell to the younger generation how to apply.
If I may add, it's not only to encourage those people from our countries to be in the panels, it's also the job to select them and to propose their names to be accepted by the colleagues in the scientific council. So it should be also understood that is actually, I think, a very big thing to be, recognized so much in the field that you can be a member of the panel. You should very much appreciate this.
Okay, thank you for these answers. We will take another questions. This is a specific questions for Andras Stipic. Taking about the ERC mentoring program, you mentioned it is very successful. How do you assess the success? Is there a good way to evaluate its effectiveness?
So we just started that in Hungary. We are in our first year, so I will not come up with data. I can come up with some data from the Czech model, and there are two numbers you can recall or you can mention. The one is that you see the cohort of people you are working with in the program, and you take what is the ratio of successful ERC grants. That's one idea. And the second one is that you take at one given moment all the successful grants from your country, and you see how many went through the mentoring program. In the second one, what I learned from Zdeněk Strakos, their program is very successful. Roughly 95% of the successful grantees go through their program. So it means that, from the cohort of scientists in a given country, most of them become successful after they go through the program. And I would be very happy to share the numbers, but you have to wait for that for 2-3 more years, and then we will see how this works out. But these are my two go-to measurements in measuring success. But we never should neglect the success in a sense that if somebody goes through this program, I hope that his or her research will become way more focused and way more thought over. So there is this additional extra benefit, which is much harder to measure.
Thank you very much for this answer. Is another question from Professor Andras. What would be the best strategy to convince professors, researchers, internal, or from other countries to be part of those support panels reviews? Is there any kind of reward of them?
So we don't do it in my institute, but they have to be aware of the fact that the ERC panel membership is rewarded by the ERC structure itself. So there are they don't give a salary, but there is per diem and compensation. So there is some kind of a financial reward in that. But the main reward, I think, is the experience and the participation on a pan-European organization, and to understand how your own field is moving and what other scientists very close to your field considering important, and bring that knowledge back home.
Okay, the next question is broader questions. May I ask how you can access submitted proposals and the evaluation reports? Is this on a national level or in cooperation with successful applicants outside the country? I would like to invite you both to briefly answer. Thank you.
Let me start. So within the country, I tried to get successful proposals. I sent out 20 emails in Sunday evening, and by Monday morning, I got replies from 20 people. Everybody was very cooperative. So within your circle of people, I think it's an easy job. But I should mention that we also use the help of the NCPs, the national contact points, like yourself. There are initiatives from the ERC which helps you to connect with people throughout Europe who are happy to contribute, and they are happy to share, especially those proposals which were successful and the project already closed. So it needs a little bit of an organization, but it's not something you cannot do in a few days' work. But rely on national contact points. So Laura.
It's important to say that this is not something that is freely available. This is a goodwill of those who may provide this. So this is
Exactly.
what Andras means networking. You have to have colleagues, you trust them, they trust you, and they will release this. But they are not obliged, they are not freely available, they are covered by some laws.
One remark. Sometimes they ask that we have to treat these proposals confidentially, to disclose it only to the participants of the member program. You should take it very, very, very seriously. You have the trust, and you can lose it only once. So that's an important aspect of that, and we pay very rigorous attention to that.
Thank you very much once again for our distinguished speakers. Thank you, Professor Kaczmarek and Professor Stipitz, for these relevant answers. We must close this Q&A session as we reach at the end of the first session. Many thanks also for all the participants for your questions and attendance. We will now move to the next session dedicated to ERC national and institutional support mechanisms across Europe. I am pleased to hand over to my colleague Asli Vural, who will moderate panels for session 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for this wonderful session. So we will now move on to the session 2, which is about ERC national and institutional support mechanisms, trends and practices across Europe. This session is particularly important for the Mercury project because it represents the first opportunity to discuss the findings emerging from our ongoing mapping exercise on ERC support mechanisms across Europe. So through this work, we aim to better understand how national funding organizations, how host institutions support their researchers throughout their ERC journey, as I explained before. So we will now begin with an overall overview of the key trends identified so far by, again, Laura Ciera from Romania. She is the ERC National Contact Point, as I explained. So she will present us. We will hear from her the perspectives of the ERC about the key trends identified so far. After her, we will hear perspectives from ERC national contact points. Hungary, Cyprus, Ireland is here today with us, followed by some examples of institutional mechanisms from colleagues representing several universities. So following the presentations, and we will have more time to ask questions, and we will open the discussion. So please don't forget to put your questions in the Slido. So with that, I am pleased to give the floor to Laura Ciera, ERC National Contact Point from Romania again. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Asli. Again, I will briefly present the main findings of our mapping exercise on ERC support mechanisms at a national and institutional level across widening and non-widening countries. Why this mapping exercise? This mapping exercise was developed under the Mercury project within Work Package 3 under task promoting success stories and good practices. This mapping exercise aims to identify the ERC support trends and transferable practices, especially in widening contexts. In this respect, we launched 2 surveys, one focused on national and the other one on institutional ERC support mechanisms, each of them having 38 questions. This mapping is not intended to compare or rank countries and institutions. Its purpose is to support mutual learning and to highlight practices that could inspire stronger ERC support, particularly in widening contexts. I will start with the national level. The survey collected 24 responses from both widening and non-widening countries and focused on 3 stages of the ERC pathway: before submission, during the ERC grant, and after grant completion. Regarding the national survey profile, the first clear message is that ERC-related support is widely present at national level. Out of 24 responses, 23 countries reported some form of ERC support, and 22 mechanisms are currently active. Support remains uneven across the ERC pathway, strong before submission, but much weaker during and after the grant. This shows that ERC support is still mainly application-focused and not a full research career pipeline. At national, support is strongest and most diversified before submission. The most common measures are proposal preparation support, reported by 19 countries, interview preparation by 17 countries, and national funding for unfunding ERC proposals mentioned by 15 countries. Overall, national systems mainly focus on helping applicants become more competitive through writing support, mentoring, interview training, and ERC-like or other mirror funding schemes. Regarding predictability, most national mechanisms are recurrent, with 16 responses mentioning recurrent programs or calls, while 12 of them are open to applicants from outside the country. This shows that the mature ecosystems are not only active, but also predictable, visible, and in some cases internationally open. After the ERC grant is awarded, national support becomes more limited. Only 8 countries report support during grant implementation, while 10 report no such mechanisms. The most frequent measures are national incentives or awards, project implementation support, and host institution support. After grant completion, the gap is even clearer. 18 countries report no active post-grant support. Overall, national ERC support is the strongest before submission, mainly through proposal preparation, interview training, and funding for unfunding proposals. The main gap is the incomplete ERC pipeline with limited support during and after the grant. The key challenge remaining to make support predictable, visible, and embedded in international practice. I will now move to the institutional level. The survey collected 68 responses and focused on support across the ERC pathway, before submission, during implementation, and after grant completion. As institutional level, the survey collected 68 responses with good coverage of both widening and non-widening context, and a strong share of university-type organizations. Most institutions report some form of ERC support, and again, the strongest focus is before submission. 61 institutions report support applicants. 48 institutions support also grantee during implementation, and 26 of them report post-grant support. Applicant stage support is the most mature institutional layer. More institutions provide support before submission, often to recurrent programs or calls. Delivery models combine central grant offices, dedicated ERC support offices, faculty-level structures, and ERC grantees as advisors. What institutions actually provide? Institutional support goes beyond administration. It includes proposals, guidance, internal pre-checks, feedback on ERC fit, budget and ethics support, as well as interview preparation. Some institutions also create better conditions for applicants through proposal development, funding, reduced teaching load, or access to their infrastructures. The survey confirms a clear pattern. Openness decrease along the ERC pathway. Institutions are more open to external ERC applicants than to external ERC grantees during or after the project, suggesting that openness is often linked to recruitment or hosting strategies. After the ERC grant is awarded, institutional support remains important but become more uneven. During implementation, 53 institutions provide support mainly for project management, reporting, legal issues, visibility, and recognition. After grant completion, only 27 report post-grant support, while 19 of them show that such support does not exist. The main measures relate to valorization, career progression, and bridging funding and leadership's role. To conclude the institutional part, support is the strongest when institutions connect the full ERC pathway. Before submission, during implementation, and after the grant is finished. Applicant support remains the entry point, but strong ecosystems also need implementation support, retention measures, and follow-up capacity. The key message is that ERC support should not remain an isolated initiative, but become part of regular institutional practice. I would like to thank you very much for your attention and warmly to thank you all ERC NCPs and national and institutional representatives who contributed to the two mapping surveys. We will continue to follow up to further complete and refine both surveys. I will now hand over to Ashley Vural, who will moderate the rest of session 2, moving from mapping exercise to selected ERC support mechanisms. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura, for your presentation and for your insights regarding the survey results, the first results. So we are very excited to see at the end of the project how it will look like. So now I would like to invite my colleague, Görtle Baum from Hungary. He is the ERC National Contact Point. He is from Secretariat of Hungary Academy of Sciences. He's here with us to make a presentation about Hungarian national support mechanisms available. Thank you.
Hello, good morning for everyone. My name is Gergely Böhm and I'm the head of the President's Office at the Hungarian Academy of Sciences, and at the same time I'm national contact point for ERC. You have heard quite a few things already about Hungarian schemes from Professor Stipschitz at the introduction. So I will try to let you know about the rest of the process. In Hungary, there are a lot of important institutions and stakeholders who are providing some form of institutionalized support for ERC candidates in Hungary. First of all, we have the National Research Development and Innovation Office, which is a government funding agency. So in that role, they can provide grants that can boost ERC submissions. And also this organization is responsible for the coordination of Horizon Europe policy support and runs the NCP network. Apart from a few NCPs, and this is where the Hungarian Academy of Sciences comes in, because the ERC NCPs since the very beginning were hosted by the Hungarian Academy of Sciences, and this is the case right now as well. In the past, this was because also the Hungarian Academy of Sciences hosted the National Research Network in Hungary. Nowadays, there is a different case, but it may change in the future as well. So the Academy is a traditional alert society with a public association of 19,000 researchers with a PhD level, but it's also a research funding agency, and this will be important later on in the presentation. You have already heard about the excellent initiative hosted by the Rényi Institute of Mathematics from András Stipschitz. But this is not only an initiative for the Institute of Mathematics, but this is a national scheme initiated by one of the leading host institutions of ERC grants in Hungary. It's important to mention that we have a very good young academy in Hungary, and they themselves organize regular mentoring events, workshops, which target early career researchers. And we also have another institution, the Academia Europa, the European Academy of Sciences Budapest Hub, again doing mentoring events and workshops targeting mainly early career researchers. And these organizations, they cooperate widely in providing the support. And of course, we have research institutes, universities with their own support schemes, which mostly target, well, they exclusively target their own researchers. Okay, so what do we do as ERC NCPs? Of course, we have the general task of disseminating information about the cause. We organize information sessions, and we run a website with some latest news. The website should be updated very soon. It's a little bit old, but this is to be done. Surely, we give assistance to individual researchers in the interpretation of rules. This is maybe the first task. We assist with the preparation of the application in the interview. I will come back to that later on. We connect applicants to grantees, to former grantees, not only in Hungary, but also abroad, to help them access successful proposals. We organize mock interview trainings, including the assembly of the mock panel, which is usually a very difficult task, and it in most cases cannot be done by experts from within the country. Only we provide mentors via the ERC mentoring initiative, which I will come back to that later on. We believe it's essential in widening countries. And we try to give assistance to research managers at host institutions as well, which is quite important. Also somehow try and support the project implementation phase, not only the preparation. And since we have access to statistics, we give advisory and we give policy support when the preparation of grant schemes, for example, is on the table. It's very easy if it's within the academy. It's more difficult if it's outside the academy. Okay, assistance in preparing the applications. So we help everyone. There is no selection procedure. and we very seldom advise any applicant to postpone the application. And if anyone is asking for help, we will do it. Unfortunately, and this is a major drawback, in Hungary we have around 70 to 80 proposals a year, and we reach out to 50% of those who apply, approximately. Okay, and then we assist in the proposal review. I think a lot has been said about that, and we give assistance by trying to find mentors and experts, which I think very important. Okay, and then just a few words on the interviews trainings. This is something that we obviously organize only for step 2 applicants, and we very much rely on the ERC mentoring initiative, and we believe this is a highly successful part of the preparation. Okay, András talked about the mentoring program in very much detail, so I will skip this and just say a few words on the mirror funding programs. The Academy of Sciences has a grant stream since 2009, which is very similar to the ERC. And we believe it's highly successful. 41% of Hungarian ERC grantees are also momentum grantees, so they won this grant. This is a great step in the preparation for a successful ERC goal. And the National Research Development and Innovation Office also has several funding programs which somehow are similar to an ERC grant. And the same office runs the Excellent Grant Stream, which is basically funding for unfunded Step 2 ERC applicants. And just one final slide. If it works or not, it's not so clear to tell, but what I can tell you is, as if it comes to the number of applications, it certainly works. There is a clear increase in the number of applications, but if you look at the success rate and the number of proposals won, then the picture is less positive, and I will be glad to talk about the reasons later on, but of course we cannot be independent of the general trends in a country when assessing this. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Kirkley. Sorry, we are very pressured by the time here, and we got many speakers, so thank you for explaining it. Just to let everyone know that the presentations will be available after the event. Also, the recording of the event will be available. So now I would like to invite my colleague from Cyprus, Leda Sukufori Temisto, on the stage to make her presentation. Hello, Leda.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
We hear you very well. The floor is yours, Leda.
Excuse me, I didn't hear you.
The floor is yours. Can you please
Thank you.
Your presentation? Yeah.
So it's uploaded. Can you open it for me, please?
It was in your you uploaded yesterday, and then you need to do it again with the plus with the.
Can you see it now?
The screen sign with the plus, and you will see it.
I have, but I can see it in the. Okay.
There it is. Thank you.
Excellent. As Asli said, I'm Leda Sukufori Temisto, and I'm the national contact point for Cyprus for the ERC. And I will start my presentation first by giving you a very short, brief overview of what my organization does. The Research and Innovation Foundation has been established 30 years ago, and it's the national authority in charge of supporting research, technological development, and innovation in Cyprus. We do that by designing, launching, and managing funding programs, competitive programs, and also by supporting Cypriot institutions to participate in the European framework programs. We also run the national NCP network in Cyprus. And we also try to enhance the R&I ecosystem in Cyprus by specialized services and activities. About the ERC national support mechanisms, we do that in 3 major arrays. is the NCP services, the mentoring and fellowship initiative of the ERC, and by dedicated national funding programs. With respect to the national contact point services, we help prospective ERC applicants with one-to-one meetings mainly and answering to inquiries to prepare a successful proposal, and we carry out pre-screenings for proposal drafts, and for successful step one applicants, we set up mock interviews in order to prepare them for the ERC interview. We also carry out a number of awareness raising and dissemination activities, and throughout the website and social media and newsletter. Secondly, we participate in the very valuable ERC mentoring and fellowship initiatives, and we provide access to our researchers to a very good experienced mentor network. We have done that in the past very successfully. And here comes the good part. We have recently designed and launched 3 dedicated national funding programs in order to help support our researchers to prepare successful ERC proposals. The first funding program is the Vision ERC program, and the aim is to encourage top young and experienced researchers in order to participate in the ERC calls by funding projects that carry out research activities in order to produce preliminary results that will form the basis of a successful ERC proposal. Until now, we have had 2 calls in the last 2 years with a total budget of 2.5 million euro and total funding per project 100,000 euro. The second program is the ERC Visiting Research Fellowship, and this is to support the participation in the ERC Fellowship scheme by providing funding to successful applicants to travel and for personnel costs in order to visit an ERC grantee lab, sit next to the ERC grantee in order to improve the excellence of their proposal, improve the excellence of their research, and prepare and submit an ERC proposal. We have had one open call of a total budget of 200,000 euro, and the maximum funding per fellowship was 50,000 euro for a visit from 3 to 6 months to the ERC grantee. The last funding program is the Horizon Europe Second Opportunity, and this is addressed to successful Step 1 ERC applicants who made it to Step 2 but did not manage to secure funding. And the project should have research activities that will improve the excellence of the research and the excellence of the proposal in order to resubmit the proposal to the ERC. It's one open call that opened in 2024 with a total budget of 600,000 euro and the maximum funding per project 100,000 euro. It's too early to measure the impact of these programs, but results are optimistic. Until now, we have funded 26 Vision ERC projects, 5 second opportunity projects, and supported 6 ERC fellowships. So this is all from me. Thank you very much for your attention. Looking forward to your questions. Thank you.
Leda, thank you very much for your wonderful presentation and your contributions. Please stay here because we may have a few questions from the audience after we also hear Patrick. So now I would like to invite my colleague Patrick Lindsay from Ireland. He's again the ERC National Contact Point, and he will be representing Research Ireland. So Patrick, the floor is yours. You got 5 minutes.
No problem. Okay, thank you very much. You can hear me okay, yeah?
Well, thank you.
Okay, brilliant. Yes, so my name is Patrick Lansley. I'm based in Tiger Erin Research Island here in Dublin today. And I'd like to talk about a quite specific scheme that we run here in Ireland. Now, this is kind of on top of activities that we take around, sorts of things like reviews and advising people on the mock interviews. But there's a specific scheme which we run, which I think is reasonably unique in Europe. So I was asked to talk about this. The target groups are people that we're looking to engage with. So really, it's all potential Irish applicants who are based at an Irish university. It is theoretically possible for people who are based outside Ireland but are applying through an Irish university as a host institution for them to participate, but it can be quite administratively difficult. So this primarily goes to existing researchers here. There is no difference in the process, whether that's based on domain or on career stage at all. Everyone is in exactly the same position in terms of applying. And the type of support that we have here. Now, it's important, I think, to note that this support is actually administered by an organisation called Enterprise Ireland. Now, Enterprise Ireland is not a research organisation. It is primarily focused on kind of business development activity. So the fact that this sits there is a slight anomaly. It's just how things have developed. But over time, they developed four different schemes. So we have travel grants and coordinator support grants. These mostly relate to kind of consortium-led Pillar 2 type projects. But within this, we also have this ERC proposal support scheme. Now, what is this? So this allows applicants for ERC funding to apply for up to €16,000. The application process is fairly straightforward. People need to provide a basic application, a basic description, of their project, which is up to 1,500 words long. So as I say, it's almost just an abstract really that we're looking at. And then they will provide their CV and some other basic administrative details. This will be assessed by the NCPs. So there are two NCPs I should have mentioned in Ireland. I look after the SH side, the SH domain, and my colleague Maria Nash looks after PE and LS. Applications need to be submitted a minimum of 6 months prior to the relevant ERC deadline. Applicants can apply for, as I say, up to 16,000, and it can cover. So there's staff time. So some applicants will buy in, for example, research assistants, perhaps to conduct literature searches, something like that. More commonly, they will ask for teaching buyout just to free them up free up their time when they are when they're developing their project. They are eligible to apply for travel, which will often provide small levels of, so if they're undertaking small levels of field work, maybe to engage with an archive, something like that. And it also gives them a chance to engage with either experts, and sometimes people, particularly starting grant applications, will go to visit mentors or similar, but also potential collaborators on their application. And then the last category that they can apply for is consultancy. So we get a lot of people who are requesting funds for private consultants to undertake specialist reviews of the application. And then particularly for the people who reach the second stage, the interview stage, they will often request funding for interview training or for graphic design services. In terms of the outcomes and impact, this is a really difficult thing for us to answer. It is a very long-running scheme. I came to Ireland in 2017 and the scheme was already in place there. So what this means really is that we don't have a baseline to work with. Under Horizon Europe, there has been 742 awards under this scheme. just a note, I mean, I mentioned that this is a very high workload. This means that sort of 742 plus some other applications needed to be assessed by us as NCPs. So it does take quite a lot of our time to undertake that. We have worked out that approximately 80% of applicants have received this support. The applicants that have not received this support, there's a real mix. So some people don't apply for the support because they're just really competent. They simply don't need it. There are some people who don't apply for it because maybe they're a bit less competent and maybe they're not really prepared in time in order to submit the application. And then, as I say, there are people coming in from outside, from other countries where it's administratively difficult for them to request the funding. So the monitoring processes, the monitoring is undertaken by Enterprise Ireland rather than the national contact points. And it's fairly limited from their point of view. They just want to see that an applicant has, with the money provided, they have submitted an ERC proposal. But how strong that proposal is not really monitored in any systematic way. But what we hope the benefits are, so we really think that this leads to a greater number of applicants. More people feel supported, so they are more likely to apply for ERC funding. It encourages proper planning. So I think the fact that people need to be applying for this funding at least 6 months in advance really gets them engaged with the process at an appropriate stage, rather than sort of thinking, oh, there's a deadline in 2 weeks, I might do something about that. It gives us an early opportunity for national contact point engagement with the people. So it means that we have a better engagement with our community and with the universities relevant. And I've put here what we talk about marginal gains. So I don't think that we expect that a single one of these awards will really be suddenly producing an amazing application. But we work on a kind of basis for every little support that we can provide, helps people just budget them just a little up the rankings and makes those hopefully successes more likely. Okay, so that covers everything. Thank you very much. And I think we're down to our questions now.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Yes, it was very concise. So I am looking at the Slido right now, and I invite my colleagues maybe to on the stage of the session. But I analyzed this one question, which was a question that I was also planning to ask you. It is about the importance of these national programs. So why do you think these programs are necessary in your national context? Maybe can we start with Görgli?
Yes,
or
I mean,
whoever wants to start. Yes, please, Görgli.
Yes, I'm glad. I mean, national programs are essential. I think no one cares more about our researchers than those who are engaged in these national programs. So it's quite obvious. But I would like to highlight that and this is a problem in widening countries, that it's very difficult to find the mentors, the experts who are great scientists at the same time and also have ERC experience. And this is why it's very important to have a cooperation on a European level and to invite mentors and experts from other countries. And that, I think, is a key aspect of the preparation.
Leda, can we have a few words from you?
Yes, I think it's quite important to have dedicated support mechanisms, and the key element here is that they should be consistent and continuous, because researchers are expecting from us to support them throughout their ERC journey, and in the long run as well, new researchers, new applicants. So consistency and continuity, I think, of those programs is the key element, as well as commitment from the national contact points to further improve their services that they provide, which is a bit challenging for us, the widening countries, because of the lack of resources mainly. But yes, continuity, I think, consistency and continuous improvement.
Yes. And Patrick, could you please also explain your perspective of why these programs are important?
Yeah, I'd really echo Lida's point about the consistency. I think that is really important, that you have something that people can be coming back to reasonably year on year and that they're able to accept it. And I think that particularly the scheme that we run, that it offers it kind of standardizes the approach. It offers people a structured framework to work with on their application from, and I think that's really beneficial both for the individual applicants and for the institutions which are actually trying to corral their different researchers into applying. So that having that kind of structured framework and it being reasonably consistent and dependable, I think that's really helpful for people in applications.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I think we can close the Slido session and all the answers. Thank you very much for all your answers. Now I would like to call my other speakers of this session. Thank you again. Maybe they can prepare the presentations while I introduce them. So the second session is about institutional support mechanisms. And I would like to invite our colleague from Estonia, Laura Thompson. She is the project manager in University of Tartu. Hello, Laura. We are glad to have you here. So please, could you make your presentation? Thank you very much. You got like 5 minutes, but please be careful with the time. Thank you very much.
I practiced. I'm going to be in 5 minutes.
Good. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Laura Thompson. Yes, currently I'm a project manager in Estonian Marine Institute at University of Tartu. It's for 2 months now when I'm working as a full-time project manager. Before that, I was Foreign Funds Coordinator in Grant Office for 9 years and also member of the team who created this ERC support system in our university. And thank you for this opportunity to introduce ERC support mechanisms in University of Tartu. So let's take a look how the process is built up in University of Tartu. At first, finding applicants. We don't do pre-selections for the applicants. We do support them in a few ways. One of them is that we have a ERC matching application tool that you can also see on the slide here, the picture or the screenshot here. Our researchers can enter the data in the tool and it compares like statistically to successful ERC grant holders at the time when they got their ERCs. So whatever the outcome is from that tool, it doesn't mean that our researchers can apply or can't apply. It just gives a general indication where they stand compared to their opponents. Secondly, we give incentive grants and researchers have to apply for that grant. And one part of this application is that they have to send us one pager of their idea for ERC. So if we put those two tools together, we can get an overview who are the most strong candidates, and maybe we can advise not that strong candidates how they can prepare better for the ERC. For example, if they can do something for their CV, or I don't know, maybe they have to do some more field work or something like that. So this incentive grant can be used up to 2 years. And there are no rules how they can use this money. They can, I don't know, publicate some articles, go to the field work, pay themselves extra salary to buy time for the writing or hire a babysitter for their twins or whatever. The only rule for this grant is that after 2 years, applicants have to submit their ERC or pay back the money. Moving on to application preparation phase. In general, there are 2 options how to do this. First option is to use grant writing unit services, but they will cost. Baseline cost is about 5,500 euros. And researcher will get a dedicated grant writer, personalized schedule, meetings, lead writing service, mock interviews, and so on. The other option is that researcher will write their application themselves or outsource the writing service. But also in that case, Foreign Funds Coordinator is there for technical support and other things that the researcher will need. Also, we encourage researchers to use Estonia Research Council grants that we have integrated very nicely to our system, and they complement the system the way so that our applicants have comprehensive assistance in each step. Yes, finally, we continue to support researchers after they have managed to secure the grant. There's a dedicated coordinator in grant office who will support researchers from grant agreement preparation until the very last audit. University also gives a bonus to each ERC grant holder with no strings attached and makes an exception in indirect cost usual practices. We started this system back in 2019. It took us about a couple of years to set everything up and learn more about ERC ourselves. But now, after 16 successful grants later, I feel that the system works. And also I see and feel that our researchers see and believe that getting ERC is something that can be done, and it's fully supported by the university. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. Please stay here. We may have a few questions coming from the Slido. I also have some questions for you ready in case if we don't have any questions. Thank you. So now I would like to invite Aikaterini Karasayudou from University of Cyprus. Please, Katerina, the floor is yours. I apologize for my mispronunciation.
Right. It's all right. So thank you for this amazing opportunity to share UCY's ERC-related support. Although established only in the early 90s, UCY is a driver of excellence in our small, widening country, being its top institution in research funding. Our ERC performance is central to this success. We are hosting 28 out of Cyprus 35 ERC grants, plus another 4 that left. Now, these achievements are underpinned by 3 institutional pillars. The first is academic freedom and autonomy in the choice of research topic and project implementation. Researchers do not require institutional approval to submit an ERC proposal unless co-funding is required. This applies also to applicants outside UCY. The second is dedicated support through the Research and Innovation Support Service, RIS, where I work. It's a one-stop shop covering the entire proposal project lifecycle, plus fast-track procedures for signing legal documents like grant agreements. Again, support is offered also beyond UCY. The third is tangible incentives for securing external funding, including 2 non-faculty, with dedicated incentives for ERC. Let's see in more detail. Starting with RIS central support. At the idea stage, we help applicants identify suitable ERC funding opportunities, check eligibility, support idea development. At the proposal preparation, we organize proposal writing trainings, one-on-one meetings. We provide hands-on support, including with budget, Part A, while our most impactful service is the full proposal screening. We organize interview trainings, mock interviews with the help of our amazing ERC grantees and former panelists, and we help ERC applicants secure preparatory funding offered by the National Funding Agency, as Elida presented earlier. We support grant agreement preparation, we support during project implementation with financial monitoring, reporting, audits, but also science communication and results exploitation. What is currently missing is a central project management unit. However, a pilot for its creation is underway, to which actually an ERC project participates. So we hope to have one soon. At project closure, we support, of course, final reporting, but also follow-up funding opportunities like ERC proof of concept. Now, a selection of incentives to encourage faculty members participate in externally funded projects, including ERC. PIs can buy out teaching time through the research funds with special conditions for ERC grantees, foreseeing a reduced buyout cost. Paid sabbatical leave is available to explore new research avenues, for example, proposal writing. PIs may receive additional remuneration up to 60% of their salary funded by externally funded projects, and up to 30% of project overheads go to the PI's research fund. And this is a substantial amount in ERC grants, and many more. For regarding incentives for non-faculty members, first, let me note that UCY is a public university, and thus it operates within a regulated framework for permanent academic appointments. So for ERC grantees with no permanent position, UCY created a 4-rank tenure track-like career path using external funding. Researchers on the track may receive an extension of employment of up to 3 years after the end of their ERC grant. In addition, non-faculty researchers enjoy the same autonomy in managing ERC grants as faculty members. While non-faculty members normally need to collaborate with one faculty member to submit a proposal and coordinate a project, this requirement is lifted for ERC grantees on the track. Also, they may get up to 30% salary supplement by participating in other projects beyond their core project. And closing, this is UCY's ERC activity since 2009, proposals and projects. While annual numbers fluctuate, it is clear that UCY has continuous ERC participation. Following the establishment of RIS in 2016, UCY's ERC success rate increased from 9% the period before to 11% the period after. Of course, we recognize that a large number of factors contributes to this, just a point here. Performance has been positive under Horizon Europe. We have achieved a 12% success rate above the 10% national and the 11% average European success rate. Finally, I should stress that beyond the institutional support and the incentives, UCY also benefits from a strong ERC mentoring culture, where our ERC grantees actively and very generously support new applicants, helping to drive these positive outcomes, we believe. Of course, more can be done, so we are very interested in today's presentations and discussions. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Caterini, for your presentation and being open and sharing your insights about your institutional framework. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to invite Céline Damon on the stage. She is from France, a non-widening country, representing, she is the Director of Mission Europe of the European Research. And I would like to now leave the floor to her to make her presentation. Thank you very much, Céline. You got 10 minutes, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Do you hear me well? That's okay?
Yes, everything's fine.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. I am indeed Céline Damon. I work in Aix-Marseille, and I am leading something which seems to be very difficult when you pronounce it or you see it, which is called Mission Europe pour la Recherche. Actually, it's a very easy idea. Bit difficult for France because of our structuration, but it just means it's a single European grant office for all researchers from Aix-Marseille University, CNRS, INSERM, and ERD, who are our some national organization for research. Today, I decided not really to focus concretely on what we are doing, but much more to explain you how we are doing and what we decided to do for ERC, starting from quite the beginning of the ERC program, and what kind of support we are presenting without going too much into details, but much more to make you understand the overall idea behind it. ERC for Aix-Marseille site, for all the organizations in Aix-Marseille, has always been a target and a priority because it's synonym of excellence, and it was a way as well to make Aix-Marseille be really visible at the national and the European level. So from really the beginning, when I I started to work on ERC, it has really been seen like the top priority program where we must increase participation and projects, and lots of institutional efforts have been done for that. The idea was really to structure a dedicated ERC support and to involve researchers and also the laureate in that. So we really moved from a more project-based support model where we support one researcher to a research center system where we try to take into account all the phases of the program. So who do we support? We support actually any researchers at any stage, starting from the one who just wants to think about maybe on ERC or was an ID, potential applicants, an applicant that we really detected thanks to his HR records or its publication, or even people wanted to come in Aix-Marseille to submit an ERC program. We range from the starting until the synergy kinds of projects, and also to all the kind of science, because in Aix-Marseille it's more than 120 research units, ranging for quite every disciplinary disciplines that you can have in research. So we really have different kind of objectives, from awareness, positioning, information, support for the ERC, the ERC proposals to write or to reread or to advise on their project and their profile. We work with an expert in bibliometry as well to work on their bibliometric and all dealing with the publication aspects. We support with mock interviews the candidates, which comes to the second stage, or we have a specific as well support system for the one who resubmit projects. And we are also supporting the researchers coming with an ERC in Aix-Marseille, so already were granted, but they want to develop their project in Aix-Marseille, or also for the implementation of the projects that they have, so for the ERC laureates and the one who want to resubmit afterwards. Our support model is really based on three, I try to summarize it like three complementary pillars. First of all, we managed to have and to reinforce a dedicated office support with really people becoming expert on the ERC proposal and the ERC program. We have a detailed service offer detailing the different stage of support depending on the level of maturity of the project and when they come to they arrive to the office for support. We work on, of course, all the administrative, financial or writing exercises of the proposal, but also dealing with the analysis of the panel's members, the analysis of the ESR, the former ESR, comparative with the different ERC laureates in some of the panels, to make the researchers be aware about the kind of projects which could be an ERC projects. And we worked, as I said, more specifically as well with the one resubmitting project or the one on second stage for the interview. So this is people in my team who have different backgrounds, but especially on that, it's people with a scientific background, people who already were also researchers and who are now involved in the support for researchers. The second pillar is about the training. We have a dedicated program which we call the CERC, so it's the club for the ERC. I will come back a bit later about that. It's all dealing with webinars, information session, masterclass, writing classes, and we do that in-house and sometimes also with external support and external consultants. And we make it also, as I said, it's we really try to do it as a collective exercises. We also make some of the applicants of the same year, even if they are not in the same panel, work together so that they can also address some questions, confront with the reality of project submission, and that they can interact between them and between peers. And the last part, it's something that we launched in 2017 already, which is Le Cercle. The idea of Le Cercle is stating that if we take individually the different labs or our institution, the university or the research center, we don't have the idea about the richness of our laureates. So we decided to create this club to group all the laureates of Aix-Marseille and also the member of panels who are not experts of the year because of the confidentiality agreements. And we set up a kind of mentoring exercises and a mentoring group where the laureate supports the one who are applying. They advise themselves, they participate as well to the mock interviews. We also interact with them to try to understand what were their key problems or key issues or key ideas when they were submitting their own projects or proposals, to try to give the best advice and support to the new ones who wants to submit projects. And this is so what I put there as a ERC community. So this is Le Cercle. So it has been created in 2017 with a very small budget. At the beginning, we got like 8,000 euros per year to just launch all of that. And actually the results were rather amazing because for the first time we spoke about ERC not just as excellence, but as something which is possible and feasible, and that actually people could meet other laureates and they could see that this was not such a huge step. It was something which was important to prepare, to think about, but that they were not alone about that. So we really tried to work on demystification of this ERC. We started, you see the figures, I won't comment them, but that at 30 laureate only on FP7 and already for Horizon Europe, while we still need some of the figures for 2026 and 27, we already have more projects and laureates at all the program Horizon 2020. And on site, we are already more than 110 laureates, more than 130 projects. So you see on that some of the example of what we are doing. And what is the key there message is that anyway, no one is better to support other researchers or to speak about the ERC than the researchers themselves. And we really focus on the, of course, good stories of the laureates, but also to learn about all the failures of the projects which didn't pass or were not good enough, to try to demystify all this journey for the one who wants to apply. So these are the main outcome and impacts. We are now reaching, unfortunately with 2025, we had a bit of a drop of the success rate, but we are at more than 20% of the success rate for Aix-Marseille. So you see all the figures of what we submit. For example, for the advanced grant, we submit every year more than 25 projects now. And you see around our success. What I can say is that all what we do have really an institutional impact. We see it with the success rate, but we see as well that there is ERC increased the institutional recognition and visibility, and the ERC culture is more and more present there. And what we did with Le Cercle is now retaken, copied by other support offices in Aix-Marseille for national or regional efforts to submit projects. We also see that we have a better capacity now to support and to have a different way of submitting projects. We really improved our overall support mechanisms about that, and the engagement as well of all the community towards ERC. And we also see that there is an organizational impact. ERC in an institution, in a lab, is something very specific which needs to be accompanied, and ERC as well. And that's also something I wanted to share with you as a message. It's not just an individual project. It's not just taken by the laureates, but it has an impact on the lab, on the institution, on the university. And this needs to be accompanied, and it's what we try to do. I see that I'm going fast. Maybe one question when I was preparing my my presentation was actually, can we predict the result? Can I say, or maybe next year we will be able to get so many ERC advanced or consolidator? And actually that's very difficult. And about this slide, so it's the result, but also with the panel, what we see is that actually the panels don't reflect our success in over Horizon Europe. So the population we target is really different. We see as well that the more projects we have as ERC in a panel, the more chance we have. It's really communities which emerge. I think about LS5, SH4, for example, which becomes for all neuroscience and cognition. I really saw in the framework program a reinforcement of this thematics. So there is this effect of thematics, but for the rest, it's very difficult to predict. And that's the same for the kind of ERC that we get. It doesn't, the number of advanced or starting consolidator or our success rate doesn't fit actually with the budget allocated per year. So it really means that there is no submission strategy. There is really a personalized support strategy to be placed in your institution, which is long-term. It took us time to get the results that we manage now, but that's the best lever for success. And lastly, maybe 3 key lessons I wanted to share with you and that we worked with my team when I was preparing that is that keep in mind that quality is much more important than quantity. It's better to be able to focus. We cannot control the overall number of applicants, but we can control the time that we want to spend for preparation for this kind of support, how we share our expertise within the team, and how much detections and information before submission is important to be able to deal with this overall volume. The second thing is that the service that we offer needs to be always improved. We need to learn also from others and other sites to be able to renew what we do, to renew our expertise, to always, it's always new competencies as well that we have to learn. And we have to be very transparent also about what we can do and how we can help the researchers and what lies on the researchers' responsibilities. Sometimes it's very difficult as well for the researcher to imagine that actually whatever the support it is, at the end it's them who are facing this paper, and they have to defend their own ideas and projects. And the most maybe important is the people, and it's the people of the team, the human expertise and the envy of these people to get into these exercises of ERC from the researcher side as well. Then the support office is really a key asset as much as our institutions. We always got the very big chance in Aix-Marseille to have all the institutional background to experiment, test new ideas. Even if we failed, we tried, and that's anyway the most important. I won't go into details. It's just a big paper. Maybe the big challenges that we have, the biggest challenge we have beyond actually FP10, it's the overall submission number volumes which arise, which will mean that actually we'll have to rethink as well, and we have also always to fine-tune the overall support that we have to provide. Again, ERC, and maybe that's my concluding words, it's not just about individual excellence, even if it's very important, but it's also about all the supportive environment we are able to give and to provide to the researchers, which must combine expertise, community, and overall commitments. And also maybe what I remember for one of discussion we had with the vice president of DRC, saying that you must dare failing, and I think that's very important. That's maybe not very the trend now at the ERCEA with the overall submission and the overall numbers they have, but anyway they have to try, and it's very rare that someone managed to have this project from the first go. So it takes time, but all of that is just so much richer for them and to make them the better researchers. Thank you. for it, and I'll be there if there is any questions.
Thank you very much, Celine. Thank you very much and for your presentation. Now I would like to invite Alessandro Zamboni on the stage. He is from Italy. Hello, Alessandro. He's from University of Bologna and representing the research division there. He is the deputy head of Research Development Unit, representing social sciences and humanities and excellent science. Alessandro, the floor is yours. You got 5.
Yeah, hello. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. And I take the occasion just to briefly introduce myself. I am a research officer in Unibo. I mainly deal with European project. It's about 18 years. I work on the support for our researcher to European project, and my personal career deal with ERC only in the last 8 years. So what I learned from this 8 years of experience is that the ERC fundamentals that I try to summarize here are not very known in our community of researchers. They mainly deal with Pillar 2 project, so cooperative and top-down research. So every time they try to approach ERC, we have to focus on these fundamentals, and they need to be informed, and they need every explanation to make this concept, to internalize this concept and start with a good start of their project idea. So we are trying to like Virgil with Dante, we try to guide our researcher in a sort of hell, that is, if they do not know the fundamentals of ERC. And these are our specific activities. They are mainly focused on pre-proposal, on pre-award phase, so preliminary meetings, talking about the idea, how to focus the idea, how to make compatible with ERC standards, and trying to focus on a strategy, maybe a long-term or middle-term strategy if the idea has to be oriented. Then we move to support on the proposal itself. So when something is written down on paper, and we have a team of colleagues working on the review on the B1 and the B2. Of course, we have in a central administration of our university, so we do not have specific knowledge on any single field of research. So the excellence is mainly on the proposal, on the proponent, but we try to fit and explain what are the characteristics and try to fix the logic of the project and the right level of ambition, high risk, high gain, groundbreaking research. These are all stressed during our meeting and feedbacks. We support the financial aspect of the proposal. So we have many researchers that are not familiar with budgeting of projects, so we help a lot in this. And for some specific projects, there are also little consortia. As you know, in ERC, maybe you have a second beneficiary, a second partner. In our case, in many cases, are hospitals to be involved for clinical trials, and this opens the door also for ethical issues that have to be managed. This means that it's a full support in submission procedure, even if the participant portal is not an easy tool to deal with. And we have also complete support in the implementation for the projects that are funded. So this is our strategy. Most of this kind of support, I see that colleagues have already explained that for our university is quite the same. And I would like to stress that also ourselves are not in the position to have a go-no-go decision on the proposals. So we are intended to give feedback and to support all the proposals we ask help to our office. We have also dedicated support in case the proposals pass the first step of evaluation. So training session for the interview and mock interview. We have an external expert for training session, while for the mock interview, we have a network of mentors and ERC grantees. We have put on in the last years. So ERC grantees is a grantee, so he or she have already have a direct experience on how to help in a mock interview. ERC mentors, it's an idea to have sort of train the trainer or something like this, because not each of our department have a grantee inside, so we want to have person that are well aware of the characteristics of ERC and ERC interview to help colleagues of their department. We have this kind of training program, and it's a way to enlarge the people who know who can think about ERC in their future. So we have an annual info day, we have seminars specific for departments, presentation for PhD students, especially for starting grants, and also a seminar recorded or pre-recorded or live with external expert, and training session, as I mentioned before, for interview preparation. This is a summary of our incentives. The support is what I just showed before. We have a national law that permits us to enroll grantees, so the principal investigator having a ERC project financed. So thanks to this national law that cover half of the cost of the enrollment, we can propose permanent position to our grantee, and this grantee have also a reduction in the teaching workload. It's not so strong, but just to say that are with less workload for teaching. And yeah, I think that this is all. 5 minutes are past, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Alessandro. Thank you for pressuring you with time. But I would like to invite the speakers of this subsession on the stage, because I saw many questions in Slido, and some of them are devoted to you individually. We will not go over them because we don't have so much time. But I prepared you one question. If you tell me in one word, what is the most impactful scheme of your overall mechanism? Is it the post-award? Is it the project management part? Is it the pre-award part? Which part is so essential that the researchers cannot do without it in your host institution? Just very quickly, if we can go over around the table. Maybe I can start with Laura. What can you say?
I think in our team, the most important would be pre-award phase. And in terms of people are working with the researchers, and I think even though the whole team would be about approximately maybe 7 people, about 3 of them are like really like ERC fanatics. So, you know, they are coming up with crazy ideas, and just if they don't know the answer themselves, or if they can't help by researchers, they just find the right person or find the right answer from wherever, basically. So
okay.
I think yeah,
it's pre-award phase. Yeah. Okay, then the next, Katarini. What can you say? A few words, please.
Yes, of course. As a widening country, we are still very much committed to increasing the number of ERC grants. So I would say pre-award as well, from feedback from our applicants, the hands-on proposal preparation support, and the interview support. But now that we have had a good number of grants running, we do recognize the post-award importance. So that is why we are currently in the process of running the pilot for the project management unit, hoping to establish a central support at the post-award as well.
Thank you very much. And Celine, do you want to add a few words?
Yeah, for us, it will be the most challenging is the pre-award, of course, as well. I will comment on something else, which is I didn't have time at all. I think it's the specification for some of the category, either for the starting where we need to really by exercises of masterclass of this kind of thing, make them work and see really what it is, and having in mind or being able to read over projects so that they can focus on that. And for the teacher researchers as well, which are really particular people, especially for the starting and the consolidator, where there are lots of flows of teaching as well. It's all the HR aspects and incentives that we are putting to make them be able to concentrate if they want on an ERC. So with the teaching loads and this kind of thing. So it's really something which is, I think, determinant if we want to have a strategy to support some specific population who usually don't go there, while actually they have their place as the others.
Thank you very much. Alessandro, just a few words, please.
Yeah, I agree with the colleagues. The pre-award phase is important to just increase the number, and the post-award is necessary, something that has to be done. And of course, you need experience to do it properly. But if you want to increase the number, pre-award is a key point.
Perfect. Thank you very much for everyone. There are many questions in the slide though devoted to you. We will we copied them and we will divert it to you after the event and put it on our website and inform the audience. So thank you very much. Now, I would like to leave the floor to my colleague, Gabrielle. She will be moderating the next session. Yes. Of session 3, Gabrielle.
So, hello everyone, can you hear me? Okay, thank you very much. So, thank you very much for such a useful session too, indeed. And now we heard bells ringing, so it's time for our final session of this event. So, the session is called From Support Mechanisms to ERC Success. What works and why? And as you know, the session is divided into two main parts. So in the beginning, we will discuss ERC national support mechanisms together with me. And then I will give a floor to our colleague, Patrick Lansley, who will lead the discussion about ERC institutional support mechanisms. So now I would like to introduce the speakers who will discuss ERC national support mechanisms. So you will hear Berit Sandberg Afset. Berit is ERC NCP in Norway. Then you will hear Alan Padder. He is the head of unit of researchers mobility, and Alan is from Estonian Research Council. And then you will hear Asli Vural. You already heard her, so she will present the practice from Turkey. So before we begin with Alan, I would like to encourage all of you to use this great opportunity to raise questions and receive the answers from our well-experienced colleagues. So you can use Slido for this. These questions can be general or specifically dedicated to our participants. So I already saw Alan. Alan, you can come back, and I would like to invite you to open the session with your presentation.
Okay. So, hello and good day.
I cannot see Alan.
You cannot see me? Why is that so?
Okay, we can see Alan. Everything is all right.
Everything's all right, Gabrielle.
Okay. I didn't touch anything, so hopefully you can see me and hear me.
We can hear you.
Once again, my name is Allan Padar, and I'm from the Estonian Research Council. And we have supported ERC measures about 10 years for now. And our, I would say our research community has responded very well and very positively for these measures. And it's also evident that finally we have begun to bear some fruits as the number of ERC grant holders in Estonia has increased in a couple of recent years. But in our case, I would say that our main support is the post award. Laura is also from Estonian biggest university of Tartu, said that they're mostly focusing on pre-awards. So universities and institutions pre-awards, and our main scheme or measure post-award. So shortly about our main measures that we are providing for our researchers. The first one is the, we call it just the support for applying for an ERC grant, also known as the bridging grant. And like the name already says, that the goal is to increase the number of ERC grant holders, and by motivating them to improve and, importantly, resubmit their strong ERC proposals. And it works like this, that the support it's intended for those who have reached to the second round and scored an A. And it goes for every ERC, like starting grant, consolidator, advance, and synergy. So everyone is welcome. And previously we used to support also Bs as well, but since the number of applications have reached rather high in our context, we decided to continue only with those very top ones. And the support that we provide is up to 18 months, 1.5 years, and we provide it, and the amount is 117,000 euros per year, which for the 1.5 years makes 175,500 euros. And basically the applicant is rather free to use it, but the only condition is that they need to resubmit their ERC application within 2 years. But if they want to resubmit for the other type of grant, then they have a 3 years time. So I'd say it's a pretty straightforward measure. We don't evaluate anything, just bring us the unfunded evaluation report with a grade A, and that's pretty much all we want. And we can fund the project. We have funded this since 2016, and by now we have altogether funded 33 projects. And the last couple of years have been really successful. For example, within this financial period, we have funded 12 researchers, and 5 of them have been successful when submitting their ERC application. So, in shortly, 5 of them got the ERC grant when they resubmitted it. And the second financial support that we're providing is the mentorship or mentoring initiative. I would say it's a very well known, and we provide in two ways. First one, for the researcher who have prepared an ERC grant application and wants to receive the feedback from the mentor. So it's in the first evaluation round or first round. And the second one, when they submitted an ERC grant application, reached the interview stage, the second round, and wishes to conduct a mock interview. So again, we provide the financial support, and we will pay the mentor fee, which is 500 euros at the moment. And of course, besides, those were the financial support that we provide them, but also our agency, or council, sorry, is providing the NCP support. So we review the applications and technicalities, etc., etc. We also provide that kind of help for the researchers. Okay, that was my 5 minutes. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Alan, for sharing your Estonian experience with us. So I would like to ask you to stay together and we will have a short discussion after. And now I would like to invite our next speaker, and this is Berit Sandberg Afset. Berit is a national contact point for ERC in Norway. Welcome, Berit.
Thank you very much.
So the floor is yours.
Thank you. I am one of two national contact points for the ERC and the MSCA in Norway. And I'd like to talk about how we see the support and how the success stories. I'd just like to start by showing you the development we've had over the existence of the ERC. The number of applications has steadily increased. We had a dip in the beginning of Horizon 2020, and we tried to take some actions after we saw that dip. You can see on the right screen, on the right side of the presentation, the number of Norwegian grants. The numbers are, well, pretty small compared to some of the big countries, so it's a bit going up and down, but you can see the general trend is increasing. Now, the reason for both the number of applicants, the rise, and both for the application rise and the number of grants is something that I would, to a very large extent, say that this is due to our experienced EU advisors. That's what we call the group of administrative people who are working in the institutions around in Norway, in the universities and so on. And many of them are very experienced. They have been doing this for many years. And many of them are, well, former researchers. Many of them do have a PhD themselves. There is only a very few people, I'd say, who work exclusively on the ERC. Most of them will also work on, for instance, well, typically MSCA, but also some on other Horizon Europe programs and also national programs. So they are the ones who provide individual assistance to the applicants at their own institution, and they are also the ones who provide assistance to grantees. So when we are approached by potential applicants, we will of course try to answer their questions as best we can, but we will always direct them to the EU advisors, which may be at top level at institutions, but they may also be at faculty level or department level. That varies. Then I'd just like to say how have a slide on how we are organizing the NCP work in Norway. The NCPs are, well, most of us are at the Research Council of Norway. Some are at what's called Innovation Norway, which is a body who are supporting innovation carried out in industry. And there's also a person at the Norwegian Space Agency. This is really, we have a very close collaboration. There is something that we call the EU office, who has people from all these organizations who are in charge. And what they do is, for instance, we have regular meetings for all the NCPs. But we also have something that is really a very good support to the EU advisors. We have a list of contact details for the EU advisors, which we use to send them information and invite them to meetings that we have. There is an annual meeting for EU advisors. And I'd say also some of the EU advisors are also between institutions. They are collaborating and getting help from each other. We also have some general support. The EU office are organizing, let's say, both webinars, but also physical courses for which addresses both applicants and EU advisors on, let's say, the general aspects of Horizon Europe. When it comes to targeting applicants, it's mainly those who are going to apply to Pillar 2. I will get back to what we are doing for the ERC applicants in my next slide. But another important thing is that we have, we call it project establishment support, and that is funding which can either be given to somebody who's applying for a specific call, or can be a large chunk of money to institutions who then themselves are well, using that money to target their own, helping their own applicants. So what we do to target ERC applicants, the most popular thing that we do are that we're organizing ERC proposal reading days. This is something that we learned from the people in Austria. We have 3-hour sessions, which is just silent reading of paper copies of funded proposals. We have approximately 20 each year, spread over the big university cities in Norway. And this is very popular, and we have almost 50% of all the grantees are accepting, have given us their proposal so that we can use it. We are also organizing proof of concept webinars, and when we started with this 6 years ago, we had very few POC winners in Norway, but that has increased steadily. And also we started with Synergy Grant webinars, which Synergy Grant is very popular in Norway. We have also organizing, let's say, ERC proposal writing courses. It used to be co-organized with the universities, and most of them are physical meetings up till 2023. And now we are organizing our own online webinars with the consultancy companies, which we started in the middle of last year. And we have a pilot action. We are giving national funding to one starting grantee and one starting grant application and one consolidated grant application, which got an A score in step 2. And we select which ones are getting it by drawing. So it's a lottery. And lastly, we do have our national calls for groundbreaking research are, I'd say, inspired by the ERC. And we also have one call where we actually say that if you got the grant, this national grant once, if you want a second national grant, you can only do it if you, in the meantime, applied to the ERC. Okay, I think that was all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Berit, for such an inspiring presentation. And indeed, Norwegian scientists will show good performance in ERC calls. So now I would like to invite our final speaker, Asli Vural, for a final presentation here in this part. Asli, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Gabrielle. Again, me, sorry. So let me put my presentation. Okay, so I think it works well. I'm representing Turkish Scientific and Research Council, and I'd like to mention what we do nationally for ERC applicants in our country. We have 2 levels. One level is what we provide through the ERC National Contact Point. These include like general information days, like all my other colleagues explained, or more focused project writing camps, or one-to-one project meetings, or proposal reviews, or evaluation summary reports for those applicants, who are reapplying to ERC. And there's also one more structured program that we have. So this is a program of TÜBİTAK, and this level belongs to the program level. And we got 3 programs devoted to ERC applicants. And one of them is for proposal preparation, and the other one is international travel support, and the last one is for unfunded projects. So let me continue. The first program we have, it is called ERC Principal Investigator Advancement Program. And if an applicant applies with their draft B1, we of course evaluate it in our own evaluation system, and I will explain how do we do it. And if that applicant is successful, then we can provide the applicant 3 types of supports. They can either join a project writing training, which are organized by professional companies. And then another option can be a pre-evaluation of their proposal, either by, again, a company or an scientists. We can provide some financial support for that. And then the last stage, if the applicant is invited to the interview of the ERC, then we again, the applicant is able to apply for an interview training, again, done by professional companies for this. So, and then this is how the program looks like. The applicant should apply, indicating the main ERC call that he or she is targeting, and we evaluate the proposal, draft B1, by 3 independent experts, and then the applicant will be free to choose any one of the sub-programs. So in total, one project may account for 16,000 euros in total. What is important is that researchers who plan to apply, this program is open to researchers who plan to apply to ERC grantees, ERC grants with an host institution in Turkey. And these grants can include proof of concept grant or a synergy grant if one of the PIs are in Turkey. And then we do the main eligibility check for the main call to see if that is an appropriate application. And then the draft B1 is evaluated by evaluators. And then we encourage applicants to apply years ago, actually, maybe 1, maybe 2 years ago, to the previous to the ERC call, but then they got a deadline of until 45 days before each call. So unsuccessful applicants can reapply for the same call, and then they can change their proposal. Maybe they can increase their chances in our program. So the 3 independent expert reviews, I think this is the most important part of our program, because these reviews come from either ERC grantees or inactive ERC panelists, and we provide these feedback to the applicant, either successful or successful. So this is a very important part of our program. And then, yes, and also I want to mention that we are a part of the ERC mentoring initiative. We got, as I mentioned, we got other support programs, like if a researcher wants to come to Turkey to visit a team and help creating projects, maybe international, multi-partner or single partner, we can provide some visit support, like up to 1,500 euros. And these researchers can be either ERC principal investigators or panelists. And then, like many other countries have, we got a program for unselected projects. We provide national research funding for those projects, and we request the applicants to resubmit their improved proposal to the main ERC call within 2 years. So this is all I want to say, and I'll be happy to provide you more information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Asli, for demonstrating us what programs you implement in Turkey. And now I would like to invite all of our panelists for our very short final discussion because we are a bit running out of time. So I can see Asli and Alan and Berit. Okay, so as we do not have a lot of time, so I would like to give you just one very general question. So looking across different national contexts, what is one lesson learned that could inspire other countries aiming to strengthen their ERC participation? So who would like to start first?
I can be the one.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that we learned, like Maria Leptin said in the first part, that it all takes time. We started with the measures about 10 years ago, and now we are seeing the results that we want to see. So yeah, like for example, last year we got 8 new ERC holders, which is quite a good number for a small country like Estonia is. And another keyword that I would like to point out is the cooperation with the institutions. And yeah, the feedback that we have received from the researchers is that our measures or the university's measures alone are insufficient. And yeah, we need to combine them, national levels and institutional measures. So yeah, success in the ERC, we believe, is therefore a matter of a combined effort from the national level, yeah, like I said, and from our side, research council, and from the universities.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Berit?
Yeah, I would say also local support. Because what we did survey 7 or 8 years ago, and potential applicants were asked what they thought was most important, and what they pointed out was sort of help from their peers and sometimes help from their bosses. But of course, this is closely linked to what kind of support they can receive locally, and so I would also say the local support team, meaning EU advisors or grant offices and so on, because it's easier for them, people at those offices, to have an overview of the excellent researchers they have locally and to really talk to them, at least depending on the size of the country, of course. But
okay, thanks. Asli?
Yes, thank you. One lesson we learned from the very beginning was that we realized that a national program cannot stand alone if the host institutions don't come in with their own institutional supports, because together, this is a community effort, and then if every element of the community works, then success can come in. So I think this is what I can say as what we learned from the very beginning.
Okay, so thank you very much, everyone, for coming to the session. I think that we will have some more such sessions in the future, you know, within a Mercury project. So as we have reached our time limit, so I thank you once again. And now I would like to invite my colleague, Patrick Lansley, to lead the second discussion. Hello, Patrick.
Hello, Gabrielle. Thank you very much for handing over there. Yeah, so our next discussion is looking at similar issues, but from the institutional points of view. So we have 5 great speakers coming up from a range of different countries. So we've got Poland, Czechia, Sweden, Turkey, and Luxembourg. So this should be really interesting. Do keep adding questions to the Slido when you have them. Even if we don't get to them within the Q&A, we will still see if we can answer them offline after the event. So it's great to get all of your inputs. So first of all, if I could ask Diana Pustura from the University of Warsaw to come to us.
Yes.
Hello, and when you're ready, please.
Yeah. Yes, good afternoon. I hope you can see my slides and I hope I can operate them.
Oh, good.
Okay, it works. So yes, I'm Diana Pustuła from the University of Warsaw. I'm the head of the European University of Warsaw Office for International Research and Liaison. And I would like to share with you today the mechanisms developed by the University of Warsaw for the direct and indirect support of the researchers who apply for the prestigious grants such as ERC. And how it works. And just to tell you at the very beginning, I would like to stress that University of Warsaw, as University of Warsaw, we take the holistic approach to this topic. So meaning that we believe that a lot of building blocks needs to come together so that we can build an effective support mechanisms at our university. And so it should be rather that than the scattered individual here and there interventions to make the whole system actually effective. And so we have developed top-down and bottom-up approaches that we believe that come together to an multi-level and multi-step integrated ecosystem supporting our researchers in the process of ERC applications submission. So first of all, I would like to mention that from the top-down strategic approach, that as we look at the process, we believe in the long-term development strategy that has to integrate and embed this kind of system from the very beginning. And one of those building blocks will be the synergic and strategic programs such as Excellence Initiative Research University, or the strategic networks as the 4U+ European University Alliance, the University of Warsaw is a member of. The second thing is the investment in research infrastructure. And from the point of view of the multi-annual framework, we believe that in some cases, for many researchers, without that component, it would just be not possible to carry out the research. And we also believe in an ever-improving work and study conditions, including university being engaged in the HR Excellence in Research Award implementation program. We have also a welcome point in the University of Warsaw for the international researchers and students, and anti-discrimination policies and gender equality plan as the part of those HR Excellence in Research Award program. We also believe that the promotion of open science policy throughout the University of Warsaw also takes a plays a big role in that. And we believe also in the internationalization policy that involves mobility, joint publications, and networking in the international environment. And from directors, let's say, initiative, there will be a special internal grants for excellent academic teachers and researchers that they can win it for their excellent results. And we also built an effective organizational and administrative base supporting the system of actually submitting the ERC applications. And from the bottom-up initiatives, some examples, we start from the researchers. We believe that they themselves, they need to be bold, extensive, and they also have to intensively and extensively be active at the international in the international area, meaning that they should actively participate in the, for example, EU framework programs like Horizon Europe or in the previous ones. We also believe in the this is for the external networking, and we also think that the internal networking is very important. And here we look at the ERC grantees and panel members that comes together for the, let's say, to the rescue in terms of the feedback given to the ERC applicants thinking about submitting the proposal. We have also, we draw also very much on the University of Warsaw employees' expertise. It could be different. It could be the researchers with the specific expertise in the field, in the research field, but also administration experts on scientific presentations. That could be language expert that would provide the proofreading. But also we reach out for external services, for example, for graphic designers to round up, for example, the PowerPoint presentation or to develop, for example, an ERC project logo. Also, we have developed two specific actions for direct support to the ERC applicants, meaning this is also part of the Excellence Initiative Research University. And one of them is called From the Diamond Grant to the ERC, creating individual plans for the research career development and so-called incubator ERC. I would like to share with you some more details later on, because I'm afraid within those 5 minutes, it may not be possible. If I still have time, I will come back to that. And we believe that all those pieces of the puzzle, they really have to come together to bring fruits. And as it was already said, it does take time, but we believe that if we put this well together, it will foster a collaborative and supportive environment for our researchers so that they can discuss their excellent research ideas and transform them directly into a competitive research proposals. And just to add one more thing, that we do not forget about the ERC grantees themselves, because they are being supported by our press office. So they will have their sessions, giving the interviews on their research projects, and also there will be movies with them playing the role of the SPIs of their research proposals, so that they could inspire their colleagues to actually apply for the ERC grants as well. And this is our the playlist. So you can see who is on the playlist. We started it already in 2007. And I will not go into details about our program unless there will be a question about that. I would only like to tell you that it's a multi-level and multi-step program that will mirror also 2 or 3 steps application, depending on the type of grant they are applying for, and it involves several university employees. As I said, we start usually from the usual training on the ERC proposal, individual consultations with us, but also, and this is our major asset, we have a great collaboration with our ERC grantees and ERC panelists at the University of Warsaw. We employ the services of graphic designer, but also for infographics for part B1 and B2, proofreading with a native speaker of English, and administrative support, including budget calculation, obviously, and checking all the administrative details. And for the second part, this is also, you can stop me whenever you want if I go beyond my 5 minutes, but I just would like to mention that on the second, in the second step, apart from all that I have already mentioned, we also provide the international mock interviews, and also consultation of the oral presentations, and they can actually train them with a language specialist. So, and again, and this very last sentence component, that they can meet with the ERC grantee so they can share their experience, how they have prepared successfully to the ERC, to the interview with the ERC panel members. Thank you.
Okay, that was brilliant. Thank you very much, Diana. I think the point about that sort of everything's made up of building blocks, and the need for a coherent approach and the various different actors who relate to it is really important for us to consider. I think both particularly in this engagement between NCPs and people within institutions, and also that question of, obviously people are, they're in a research ecosystem. ERC doesn't exist in a vacuum, so the complementarity of other areas is really important. And finally, I'm sure we'll be trying to get the URL for that playlist. It sounds brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on now then. Thank you very much to our next speaker, Veronika Mitikova from Masaryk University in Czechia, please.
Yes. Hello, good afternoon. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I would like to present you the ERC support system at the Masaryk University and how it actually translates to some already initial success. So at Maastricht University, we see ERC support as a continuous process. It starts already with attracting excellent scientists, then continues with the strong support during the preparation of the grant, and then the training for the ERC interview, and also continues towards the successful end of the ERC grant. So let's start with the talent attraction. So thanks to our internal grant agency of the Maastricht University, we run 2 funding schemes, MESH Award and MESH Starting Consolidator. And the aim is basically to seek and recruit excellent researchers with a high ERC potential and provide them funding and conditions to settle down and establish their independent teams at our university. And the submission of ERC, it's an important part of it because it's a mandatory condition for the holders of these awards. So we see that this system already generates some results because the awardees of MESH Award or MESH Starting Consolidator or the Junior Grant, which was alternative run in previous years, they are very successful actually in applying for prestigious funding. They already acquired 6 ERC grants and some other prestigious schemes, as you can see here. The core of our ERC support is obviously, as it was said with the colleagues before, in the stage of grant preparation, where we combine the faculty level support with some central coordination, and we collaborate also with the national ERC support system that was mentioned also before. So our applicants, I believe, receive highly individualized support that does not cover just basic administrative assistance and budget preparation. But we have some faculties that also offer targeted funding for some additional needs during the grant preparation stage, covering travel costs, consultancies, and so on. From the center level, we provide dedicated training for researchers, for the ERC applicants, but also for the project managers, colleagues, well, to keep informed everyone. We also provide proposal reviews, and we coordinate our activities with the National Expert Group for ERC that was already introduced in the first session. It's an expert group coordinated by Professor Zdeněk Strakoš with the support of Czech and CP for ERC. Well, once our applicant gets invitation for interview, we obviously offer the training and mock interviews locally at the university, inviting researchers that the applicant indicates. Then also the national support organizes mock interviews, so we collaborate with them. And we also provide funding for some external experts who deliver dedicated training. And finally, we continue supporting our ERC grantees during the implementation stage. So it's some basic administrative support, dedicated financial and project manager. And some faculties, they guarantee to their ERC holders the time necessary for implementing the ambitious research agenda. So they have some possibility to reduce their teaching and some other managerial obligations. Some faculties, they also allow partial retention of overhead costs. And from the central level, we provide methodological support and we coordinate audits. And can offer bridge funding when it's needed. And finally, we managed to basically build the growing portfolio of ERC grants. Here you see our 18 ERCs above the timeline, and below the timeline there's currently 5 ERC-CZ grants, which is an alternative funding for those who have managed to get to ERC interview but did not succeed in the second stage. So it's a funding provided by our Czech Ministry of Education, Youth and Sports, and you can see the diversity of grants covering all 3 research domains. Obviously, we tackle quite some number of barriers or challenges. So basically the number one is a rather low number of scientists who are really competitive and are capable of bringing highly ambitious ideas for ERC. The second is the practical lack of practical experience with the ERC scheme, especially among research community, and that goes hand in hand with this underestimation of that development of really competitive ideas, and that leads to generation of immature proposals. So we are happy to see that the interest in ERC call is continuously increasing. The number of submissions in ERC calls is growing, which is really positive signal for us, but it's also strong motivation to continue working and improving our support system, because it does not it at this at its current stage it does not fit the needs and the demand of our research applicants. So I'm very grateful that I could hear here a lot of inspirational tips and interesting approaches from the colleagues, and thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you very much, Veronica, for your insights there. It's great to see the building which happens, and again that issue of the multiplicity of different actors both within your university and without it, who are engaging with each individual who's applying. Okay, I'll move on to our next speaker now. It's John Phillips from Lund University in Sweden, please. Are you okay? You are muted at the moment, I think. There you go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can now. Thank you.
I can't hear anything, so I'll roll ahead and I'll try and fix the sound on my end. One sec. Yeah, hi. Thanks everyone for having me. My name's John. I work as a research funding advisor at Lund University in Sweden. We are the university in Sweden with the most ERC grants. We have over 140 given out to, I think, 109 different candidates. I'm going to talk about the way that we work with our candidates here at Lund. So our ERC support at Lund follows a couple of basic principles. This is a very popular scheme at Lund. Lots of researchers are interested in it, and there is a high demand on support for their grants as well. This means that practically we need to work with the applicants in cohorts, in groups of applicants applying for the same grant. But as I think you can see from a lot of the other presentations today, the applications will all be very different. All ERC proposals are personal, so individual support has to be accessible for all these proposals. The other thing that's important about our ERC support is that there is no gatekeeping. We do no judgment, we do no pre-selection of candidates or projects. Everyone who wants to apply can apply, subject to approval by their head of department. So the structure that we have to handle this demand are recurring structured support programs across the 3 biggest schemes as well. We handle about 40 candidates a year for starting grants, about 20 for consolidators, and 15 for advanced. We also have individual information meetings for synergy grants and proof of concept grants, and then we work on a kind of internal consulting basis on their proposals. We always offer individual advice on timing, strategy, panel selection and budget, and we do completeness and compliance checks on all proposals. I'll take you through what the support processes look like for these individual cohorts. So for our ERC starting grant support, we start with an introductory workshop in May where we introduce the concept of the ERC, the starting grant, and talk through the high-level application strategy and the evaluation criteria. We follow that up with a CV workshop in June where applicants work in small groups giving feedback on the content and the form of their applicant CVs. These discussions are led by staff from my office, but the contribution mainly comes from the other applicants themselves. We encourage them to take a critical eye on their own CVs as well as those of their colleagues who are also planning on applying. This is a very natural point to discuss application strategy, application timing with the candidates as well. This leads on to a two-day overnight training camp in August, where we work intensely with small group works on early proposal drafts with both grantees on the first day and evaluators on the second day. We make these groups at the training camp as subject specific as possible, but they end up being pretty broad. We have to cover a pretty wide spread of academic disciplines there. These are collaborative, open discussions where participants both receive feedback, a lot of feedback on their own proposals, but also have to give it on their colleagues' proposals as well. The kind of final step in the main support process is full written feedback on part B1 of their proposal. That comes from my office. We're generalists. We give feedback on the structure, the internal logic, and the alignment with the ERC evaluation criteria. Then at the deadline itself, we are, usually work some pretty long days, taking a lot of last-minute questions from a lot of quite stressed young researchers, but it's part of the job. So a little bit more on the starting training camp, which is has been a real success here at Lund. This has been running for coming up to 10 years now and has accommodates between 10 and 20 participants separated into groups of about 3 to 5 individual applicants. These are assisted by grantees and evaluators who lead the discussions. There's one each of those per group, as well as research support staff, people from my office who also, we sit and moderate the discussions and answer technical questions as well. We also have support from our financial advisors there so that we can immediately discuss any issues related to the budget, or the financial framework of the projects. The focus here is very much on collaborative feedback, as I mentioned, in small groups, and participants have to submit a complete version of their B1 draft several months before the application deadline. It's a really good incentive to get them actually writing and actually putting together a full proposal. This has been very successful. The success rate for participants is hovering at around 20%. And what is even more encouraging for us is that if we broaden the scope beyond the ERC, about 50% of the participants at the starting grant training camp have received at least one major excellence grant from not just the ERC, but from our national funders as well, private and public. We're able to have this overnight training camp. We have it in a vineyard. It's quite nice location. Thanks to some generous support of some Swedish foundations. You can see them there on screen, the Riksbankens Jubileumsfond and the Ragnar Söderberg Stiftelse, who have co-financed this initiative. For the more senior candidates, consolidator and advanced grant applicants, we expect a bit more of them. We again start with an introductory workshop about 5 or so months before the deadline. And then on the 2 weeks following that, we have one-to-one clinics with all interested applicants where we review their CV and their project idea to kind of kick the tires on what they're planning to apply with and ensure that they and their CV are suitable for the ERC. It's a good time to have a kind of go, no-go discussion with the candidate before they commit to the full writing of the proposal. Then leading up to the deadline, we have a number of writing retreats. This is something we organised in response to feedback from these candidates. The protected writing time is very difficult to find. So we organise a series of half-day workshops where they can work on their proposals in a calm, structured manner with support from my office, as well as support from the other people who are applying for these grants. They can give quick feedback, they can bat ideas around with each other, and give the application development the time that it deserves. Again, we offer written feedback for these proposals. That comes about 6 weeks before the deadline. And again, there's the usual administrative and compliance checks there. Post-deadline, we offer interview training. My office offers central common interview training sessions, which are steered by successful grantees and panel members. Again, they're in small groups, so the candidates are learning from each other as well. We tend to focus on the general aspects of the interview there, both how the candidates present themselves and their project, and we aim to remove the mystique of the interview, allow the candidates to relax and focus on the content. We also encourage resubmissions and try to have an approach that encourages them as well. We offer individual meetings to discuss feedback and a tailored approach for any resubmissions that people take. Finally, we do annual updates to make sure that we are following best practice. We do regular surveys of our participants, as well as qualitative reviews of the summary reports that come back from our projects as well, to make sure that the advice that we give is in line with best practice from the ERC and other host institutions. I'm sure I'm over 5 minutes, so I will end it there. So. Thanks, Patrick.
Okay, thanks. That was brilliant. Thanks very much, John, for that. Really importance both of structure in terms of supports and the importance of giving people space to undertake the work in, I think is really important. I love the sound of the camp, and I particularly love it when I heard you said it was in a vineyard, so I'm quite jealous of that. Okay, we will move on to our next speaker now then, please. If we can have Oya Özer from Koç University in Turkey, please.
Hello, and thank you for this opportunity, and thank you also for the audience who made it this far. It's very good. Like, how many hours? I guess 3 hours. We are still alive, so good. I was very inspired from today's speakers, really from Professor Andras Stripte's jerseys, for instance. It was very nice. Just University of Tartu seed fund mechanism. So I will talk about all of them with our upper management. So going back to my presentation. So let me first get you through who Koç University is, what it does, and the rankings. So it has been performing very well because we are a good research university, so we are #1, and also in the interdisciplinary science rankings and also the other usual suspects, so you will see here. And then, so we have quite a chunk of the ERC grants that Turkey has already got. So 36 out of 63. And then mostly are clustered in the engineering part, as you can see, 25 grants is in engineering and 8 in the social sciences and 3 in molecular biology and genetics. So we try to also spread it out a little more, but for now, it's more gathered in the engineering part. So let's talk about from policy to practice. So this constructing the support mechanisms that drive ERC success and what works and why. So this is the topic of our talk. So here, this is for the first stage support. So the administrative foundation that we do is, of course, the strategic guidance. We work very closely with our NCP, Aslı. Thanks for her support all the time. So we encourage them to go and apply for the ERC Principal Investigator Support Program. And we also help them through to find the consultancy firms, for instance, and we do all the writing together with the PI, so help them with their selections. And of course, leadership alignment. We are actually a small university, so that's why the PI can have that direct access to our VP for Research and Innovation, who is also an ERC Advanced Grantee, together with 3 POCs, and then EIC Transition, and also Sponsored Research Office, the office that I work for. Our director is also a 2-time ERC starting grantee, and she's also very open when it comes to the PI candidates to talk with her. And then, of course, there can be a time protection, which means depending on the dean's approval, the PI candidates can reduce their courses. So they may reduce at least 1 course while they are preparing and writing their projects. And then, of course, the logistical offloading. So we have a very good established project management office. So they work together in the project preparation time. So this is for the stage 1. For stage 2, so elevating the narrative, the pressure test means, of course, mock interviews. So we arrange them. it can be with our ERC grantees. Also, if they PI candidates provide me with a list of names, I also arrange it with them. And also, again, together with our NCP, we go over some lists and find relevant names depending on the panels, etc. So we prepare all the stage for it. So it's a pressure test. And also, if the PI candidate needs visual support, which means graphic design, we also help out with that. So we find the expert and arrange it, and sometimes also we pay for it if the PI candidate has the need. And then, so after getting the grant, what is done? First, there's the financial incentives, which means like a 10% base salary increase and additional salary drawn from the overhead, which is paid as installments monthly. And then, of course, they have protected time, so they have guaranteed course reductions. So it's 2 courses across 2 terms, and it's like a buy-off. So, and then, which really helps. I talked to many of the ERC grantees that we have, and they said it's a big, huge incentive because their life becomes actually ERC when they receive the funding. So it's a huge help. So this is just like a summary that we have pre-award and post-award, what we all do. And then, so administrative support is just not, okay, 5 minutes is over, I will be quick. It's a not paperwork, but it's a strategic enabler for scientific breakthroughs. And my final note will be, so we should, I guess it's a key message from today, is advancing the ecosystem all together. We need to really, I really appreciate this nice Mercury project will help us out, like Turkey as a widening country, to be more successful in this way. So I also look forward to exchange experiences even after this event. So, and then also spread the good practices across our community. And thank you very much. I didn't talk that much about some statistics that we have, because I thought I will answer those questions when we are finished now, I guess. Right, Patrick?
I think so, yeah. No, there's so much more that everyone can say, I think, really. So, no, thank you very much for that. That's fantastic. And I think it's really interesting, like, as much as we talk about kind of widening and non-widening areas, like, everyone's doing very similar stuff and similar sorts of structured approaches. So, obviously working with different groups, but the what people do is always very similar. Okay, we'll move now to our last speaker, if we can. So, we've got Laura Motte from Luxembourg, University of Luxembourg, please.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for the opportunity to present the University of Luxembourg and our support mechanisms. So I'm Laura Motte, I'm Strategic Research Development Manager. I also serve as the dedicated EU project manager, which means ERC is pretty much at the heart of everything that I do every day. And I'm just going to try and walk you through how we support our researchers, not just the process, but also the philosophy behind it, bearing in mind that the University of Luxembourg is only 23 years old, so we are a work in progress. So for us, an ERC application begins well before researchers write a single word. It starts with faculty deans and center directors. We ask them to actively identify and endorse ERC talents to support their profiles and not just sign a form. So from there, the profiles will go to the Rectorate and Board of Governors for institutional approval, which ensures the strategic alignment with the institution. And only then does the researcher submit their proposal to the ERC. Of course, throughout all of those steps, researchers are never left alone. I support them through every step of the way. We also have a research support department with a dedicated EU support team and their research facilitators who are available to them at every stage. So our support system works on 2 levels. So we've got the central structures and the faculty and interdisciplinary center structures. Centrally, so as I said, I keep a bird's eye view across all candidates. I just start off by discussing their readiness for the project and see a little bit on what their plan is. We also have our EU support team at the Research Support Department that handles the administrative, financial, and compliance guidance. And on a central level, we also have one of our researchers, an ERC grantee, who is the Luxembourg ambassador for the ERC, and he also helps all of our candidates. Then on the other hand, at the faculty and center level, we've got the dedicated research facilitators, because we believe that the proximity matters for our researchers. They're the ones that know the researcher's environment, their ambitions, their research. And throughout this whole process, we also allow our candidates to hire an external consultancy firm, which is financed by us through an internal grant. So another point that's really important to us is our peer-led support. So current grantees for us are not just a success story, they're active contributors. They review proposals, they sit on mock panel simulating the real step 2 interviews. They share access to their own past proposals, successful and unsuccessful, because we sort of believe that these are the type of things that cannot be found in guidelines. And this year, we also joined forces with our national contact point Lux Innovation to organize proposal writing masterclass, which is entirely led by ERC grantees, and we hope to make this an annual event. One of the questions that is often asked in these discussions is, who do we target? So to be honest, we target everyone at every stage. We don't really target specific groups, but we don't target them in the same way. So some candidates are scouted before they decide to apply. So fellows of large national grants that we have at the National Research Fund, such as Pearl and Attract, are scouted. Promotion track researchers too, promising profiles that are directly sponsored by the deans and directors. And then once they become active ERC applicants, then they get the full toolkit. They get financial support through the ERC incentive scheme, which intervenes at each step of the proposal. So proposal writing and then the interview planning. Peer reviewing, we also organize like mock panels. They also have access to past proposals, and we also give a 6 months teaching reduction so that they can focus on writing. And also regarding our unsuccessful applicants, because as some of you have said, you sometimes have to apply more than once. We also reach out, we analyze their evaluation summary reports together. We actively support their resubmission by giving them, again, this ERC RISE grant. And we also recognize outstanding efforts with awards for the Seal of Excellence and a grade A step 2, as in near misses are not a failure, but an incentive to resubmit. And then for our grantees, once they get the grant, they have a career promotion, which is in the university regulations, a guaranteed minimum of assistant professor position, even if they are gutted as a postdoc, and they get a teaching reduction for the duration of the grant. And then they also join into giving back by being peer trainers, reviewers, and mock panelists. So ultimately, we believe that if we're going to ask researchers to invest in an ERC application, the institution has to invest in them too. So we've really built a whole support system around them, from scouting talents proactively, backing researchers structurally, investing financially in them, and relying on the strength of our current ERC community to help the next applicants. So hopefully, again, we're only 23 years old. We are a work in progress. I've heard a lot today that have given me more ideas that we'd like to implement at the university. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Laura. That was fantastic. And it's great to hear that people are benefiting in terms of the networking aspects of this. I think like there's so much I could take from that. Like something which came across in all of the talks as well is the importance of existing awardees, both in terms of being able to provide mentorship and Absolutely. Also as inspiration, I think, for other applicants. Okay, I think we're moving on to our questions and answers session now. So can we have everybody in the room, please? Yes, that's everyone. Okay. And okay, brilliant. We've got our slide. I do have like a prepared first question, which I'd like to ask to each of you in turn. So from your institutional perspective, what do you think the key factors that make ERC support mechanisms really effective? And is there a way that you can really link them to actual outcomes? I think if we go through in the order of how people spoke, so if I move to Diana first, please.
Yeah, I think I have already mentioned that in our presentations. For ourselves, we think it's building this critical mass of researchers that already got the ERC grants, or they have played the role of the ERC panel members, and now they are serving as our resource for the mentoring and peer reviews for those who are going to apply, and that we combine that wisdom with the wisdom of also the administration, and being put together also, I mean, with individual counselors that they will be sitting with our ERC applicants and advising me on the individual application. And this has to be combined with, as we have already heard also today, with the engagement of the university authorities, investing in different those building blocks, as we want to call them, to actually strengthen and develop the university research potential, as you mentioned, because they cannot actually act and be successful just operating in a vacuum. So pulling all the resources, all the experts you have in your own institution, and reaching out whenever necessary to look for help outside.
Okay, thank you. If I'll ask the same thing to Veronica, please.
Yes, I would have probably this very similar answer. So it's the ERC support is not just the single step like developing and getting a grant. It's about the building the whole community and creating the environment that further inspires, motivates, and helps other researchers. So it's also applying some measures to support researchers during the implementation at the end of the grant. So whole circle. So see it as this like continuous process, as it was said already, building all the blocks together.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. Now, I think we've got quite a few questions coming through from Slido, so I'll try to ask questions on behalf of them. We've got a really interesting question, which I don't think has been touched on most, and I'm really intrigued, and I just ask people to put themselves forward for this. So, does anyone use AI in support processes, and how do you do that? Is there anyone doing that at all?
We don't use it in a central way. We offer guidance and training in it. We've been piloting some specific trainings for using AI in specifically ERC grant proposals, but it's kind of slow going, I'd say. Like the stuff that you want to use it for in ERC proposals is the same that you would use it for in other proposals, in improving structure, improving language, and there is, I think, already a risk that you can have AI too involved in your proposal. We are already hearing from panel members that they can really sniff out when a proposal has had large parts of it generated or iterated on with AI. So there is a value in not overusing it. I think you can do some good stuff with getting AI to give you kind of quick feedback on new drafts, feeding in ERC evaluation criterias, asking it to pretend to be certain panel members or panel members of a certain caliber, and asking it to comment on a text. I think that is a productive avenue, but we're not doing a lot of stuff with it centrally, honestly.
Okay, thanks. Any other comments there at the moment, or they don't have to be? No. Okay, I'll move on then, because we are limited on time, but that's really interesting to hear. So there's a question here for Laura, just asking about a bit more detail about the ERC ambassador role, and I think I touched on that sort of issue of importance of mentors and inspirational figures. So could you talk a bit more about what that involves?
Yes, so they're ambassadors for the ERC, and it's a network that was created by the ERC, so the European Research Council and the Association of ERC Grantees, where they did a large-scale call of ERC grantees where they could submit their application and then be nominated, and I think there's one or two per country. And in Luxembourg, we're lucky enough to have one of our own grantees that was nominated ambassador for the ERC. And for that, they collaborate with all the ERC grantees in Luxembourg to help support ERC candidates in Luxembourg They also are part of the ERC, the Ambassadors for ERC network. So there is a lot of exchange between these ambassadors for ERC to get feedback from what is done in other countries or different experiences that may have had. So that when we, for instance, ask questions, we can ask it to our national contact point, or we can try and get in touch with the Ambassadors for ERC network, which is just an extra layer of feedback that we can get from people who have been through the process, know exactly what they're talking about, and have different experiences from various panels, because we're a very small country too. So although we have quite a number of ERC grantees in Luxembourg, they're not from every single panel. So there are very specific questions that we can ask that go through that ERC network. And it's very, very practical. And there is a website that I can share where they list all of the ambassadors for the ERC, if you want to get in touch with the ones for you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. That's great help. Now, I've got a question here for Oya, which is, I mean, you talked a certain amounts about how there's really strong support packages for researchers who get ERCs, sort of reduced teaching loads and additional salary and so on. And I'm interested in how much those measures have contributed to either attracting and or retaining people within Karch University. Could you say that?
Yeah. Thanks for the question. I was prepared for it, so I have the statistics with me. Thanks. So between 2008 and 2014, actually the average application was 4.7 per year. But from 2020 on till today, 2026, the average application is around 18.1. So threefold increase, I guess. Of course, this is a general trend in the world, but we can keep up. That's, I guess, something good. And we had 90% of the grantees, they stayed with us. They didn't transfer their grants outside our institution. And even we have 4 transfer-ins. So I guess it's a good, it shows like that we attract also outside PIs. So I guess this answers like some striking statistics, but if you have further questions, I can answer.
Thank you very much. I just had one more question specifically for Veronica, and I thought it was interesting that at some point you said you had an issue with actually you have kind of low numbers of competitive scientists within your institution, and I guess often the widening strategies and rhetoric are about increasing numbers of applications. And do you think that there's any kind of contradiction in that issue? Are you pushing people who shouldn't maybe apply for ERC because there's just a focus on numbers, or is there a way around that?
No, I think pushing the people to apply for ERC just because we want to have a higher numbers of applications doesn't really make a sense. And actually, I personally perceive it as a key point, not basically for me important is to estimate well in advance whether the proposal idea is that really ERC competitive idea. So it's worth working on that and devoting lots of efforts of several, even sometimes several people. Because yes, there are some research ideas that we work on it a lot, but they don't make it, and somehow we have suspicious rights from the beginning that they will not be able to make it. And I think the reason is that local researchers get used to plan their research according to standards of our national funding schemes. They get used to that for many, many years, and it's really difficult for them to somehow change the setup and suggest something radically ambitious. And that's why bringing and recruiting new scientists helps us a lot, because that new fresh blood actually is something that inspires all the others and shows how to approach basically the successful ERC.
Okay, that's fantastic. Now we are pushed to time, so I've just got one last question, but I'd ask each of you to answer it in about 30 seconds or so. So the question is, if you had to identify just one of your institutional practices that you'd really recommend to any other institution, whether in a widening or a non-widening country, which would it be? And I will go back to Diana. Sorry to call on you first, but.
Okay, I think what works, as I said, is just this the whole ecosystem that we built. But for the ERC applicants specifically, we believe that this direct targeted support that we have developed within those programs, I've mentioned only one part of that stretches from the training events, meeting with the ERC grantees, which is already a very big incentive, and also stretching to the professional. Making available a professional recording studio to our ERC applicants for the second step, if even that's in the offer, and they can also apply for an additional 20,000 zloty grant for themselves to cover the additional costs of their proposal preparation, whatever it may take. And it was a question how we cover all those costs, because this is a costful action. You can, provide a complex program, but it costs. It's all covered. That all costs are covered from the Excellence Initiative Research University program at the University of Warsaw.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. I'll go to Laura next for the same question.
If we had to pick one out and they didn't have a choice to have anything else, I would go for peer-led support, because to be fairly honest, ERC grantees that have been through the process are the ones that are there are treasure at the university. Honestly, to be fair, they give the best advice, and they also help demystify the whole process for our ERC candidates. So it's freely available if you have ERC grantees. So I would definitely go for that.
That's brilliant. Thank you, John.
Yeah, I broadly agree with Laura. I think you getting them working together and working with the people who've gone through this and come out on the other side is a great way to, I think you can go even further. I think our kind of small group-based model gives a lot of benefits, creates a collaborative culture, helps raise standards across the board. Even the candidates, even the unsuccessful ones, are often really brilliant, and they can really contribute a lot to each other's applications.
Okay, thank you. Veronica, yes.
For us, the best is basically the focused support for those pre-selected and newly recruited scientists with a really high potential.
Thank you. And Oya, please, if you like.
Yeah, thank you. If I also have to choose one, so our most successful main grant is actually starting, so the success rate is 20%. And I think our support is very key here. We reach out to for instance, candidates, even if they just newly recruited by the university, even in the process, we get in touch with them, explain what ERC starting grant is, for instance, and then also, if needed, we match them with already who has a grant at the university. So I guess this is very key, and we hear a lot of good feedback on that, so that we reach out so early, even if they are still in the agreement process with the university, so they see we support them, and it may also influence their decision to come here, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yes. Thank you ever so much. There's so much more we could all talk about here, and it just regret we don't have more time, unfortunately. But I'd like to thank every one of you so much for coming and speaking to us today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Are we all okay? Yeah. Okay. So we have come to the end of today's workshop. I'd like to warmly thank all of the speakers, the moderators, and participants for their contributions today. I'd like to pay particular credit to a huge amount of work which is being done backstage all of this time. Particularly Laura, Gabrielle, Ashley. I've probably forgotten someone, for apologies for that, but it's been a huge amount of work to pull this together, so thank you for that. I can confirm the presentations of the speakers who've kindly agreed to have them shared will be sent to participants by email after the workshop. A key message, I think, from our discussions today is really that ERC success does not happen in isolation. Scientific excellence is obviously essential, but researchers really need strong, visible, predictable, and structured support environments. That support, it shouldn't stop at proposal preparation. It should cover really the full ERC pathway, the full lifetime, from application and interview preparation through to grant implementation, retention, and long-term scientific leadership. We've also seen that national and institutional mechanisms are complementary and that there is no single model that really needs to be copied. It's a very much what works in your organization or your environment. The real value lies in identifying what works, why it works, how these practices can be adapted to different national and institutional contexts, especially in widening countries. Now, all of today's work, it was based on mapping work which was undertaken. And I'd just like to really remind people these surveys are still open. So if there are people who didn't do those, does someone have the, could someone put up the image with the QR codes for that? Is that possible? Or if not, we can share them afterwards. But just please do go back to those surveys. We are keeping them open so that we can really further refine the picture of ERC support mechanisms across Europe. Today's workshop does show the value of the Mercury project as a space for mutual learning and exchange. And by bringing together ERC NCPs, national authorities, funding agencies, institutions, research support actors, we can really better understand how to strengthen ERC participation and how to support excellent researchers more effectively. From that point of view, your feedback is really important. I feel today was fantastic, but I'm sure you have other ideas about other ways we might be able to deal with it. So we have the feedback form just here. Please do scan that. Take a little bit of time to provide us with feedback about what works, what maybe could be changed in the future. Mercury is a really young organization, but you know, we are still learning, and I think we can just do really great things together in the future. So thank you once again for being with us today. We do look forward to continuing this exchange through the next steps of the project. Okay, thank you.